Hey guys, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. Today we're going to see an amazing what-if story. But before we start, it's just a humble request that if you're new here, please subscribe because it actually motivates me a lot to post more. Also, the stories on my channel are fully written by me. So if you have any suggestions for what-if stories, please let me know below the comment section. Now, without any further delay, let's start. What if Rimuru adopted Diablo since he was a child? The air inside the cave tasted like metal and dust. When I say tasted, I mean it literally. I did not have a tongue anymore. I was a ball of jelly bouncing across stone, and every time I moved, tiny sparks of magic brushed through my body like static. It was uncomfortable and strangely nice at the same time. I tried to sigh. A bubble of my slime body puffed out and popped. Right? New life. New body. Same confusion. Magic sense spread out from me without effort, a strange extra layer of touch that did not care about distance. I felt every rock, every pool, every herb patch like someone had pulled a thin cloth over the world and told me to run my hands over it. Most of the cave pulsed with steady magic like slow waves. Monsters crawled and slithered in the distance, sparks of life moving in lazy loops. There were patches of herbs that shone in my senses with a soft, healing glow. Hippocute grass, great sage had called it. Very useful, very important. Collect it. So I did. I slid over another patch and sucked it into my body like a vacuum cleaner. Inside my mind, a calm voice spoke. Great sage. It did not sound human. It was clear and cool and patient. I was still getting used to having that voice. I used to have work, friends, a normal city, and the most annoying pain in my side was a younger coworker with a habit of bragging. Now I had a system voice and no hands. Life was strange. I moved deeper into the cave, following a faint tug. Instinct, maybe, or boredom, or both. The path sloped down. The stone under me felt colder. The magic in the air grew heavier, like humidity you could chew. My body reacted on its own, magicules stirring and thickening. Then something changed. Magic sense brushed over a stretch of floor and hit nothing. No herbs, no monsters, no moss, just a patch of dead silence. I froze. Inside that silence, the air still carried magicules, but the flow twisted in a strange spiral, all pulled toward a single point. Great sage, what is that? Answer. An abnormal zone with extreme density distortion of ambient energy. That was the most unhelpful description I had heard all day. So I took a few cautious hops forward. The further I went, the more wrong it felt. The herbs on the ground ended in a clean line. One side, life. The other side, bare stone. Not even tiny insects showed up in my sense. It was like someone had carved a circle out of the cave and erased anything that tried to grow there. In the center of that circle lay an egg. It looked like a boulder at first. Then I focused. The surface was smooth and dark, not the gray of the cave, but a deep black that drank light. Thin lines ran across it, more like cracks in glass than natural stone, and magicules flowed along those lines in slow streams. Every line glowed in my senses, not bright, but sharp like thin blades. I stopped right at the edge of the dead zone. My body rippled with unease. This feels like a bad idea. I sent the thought to Great Sage. Analysis in progress. Stand by. Energy flowed in my mind as the skill worked. I waited, bouncing in place with a nervous wobble. Time passed. The analysis did not end. That was new. Answer. Complete analysis is not possible. Data shows an artificial container for a high-class spiritual entity. Probability of danger is extremely high. The voice did not change tone, but I heard the warning clear enough. So, egg of something powerful. Void around it. No herbs. No monsters. No escape routes that did not pass right by it. I stared at the egg. The egg rested on the stone like it had always been there. No dust. No cobwebs. Just perfect, cold presence. Maybe I should leave it alone. My body stayed still. My mind did not. This world had already killed me once. I was a slime now because some idiot stabbed me back on Earth. The memory still burned in the back of my mind. I had promised myself that if I got a second chance, I would live how I wanted. I would not freeze just because something looked scary. Besides, if something this dangerous was right under my metaphorical nose, Turning my back on it might be even worse. Great Sage, is it stable? Answer. No immediate burst reaction detected. External interference may trigger unknown effects. So, touching it was probably stupid. I slid forward anyway. My surface brushed across the edge of the dead zone. The air here felt thin, like it had been drained. My body tingled and trembled, but nothing attacked me. The egg towered over me, its smooth shell taller than my slime form. Up close, the fine lines in the black surface seemed to shift. They traced circles and spirals that almost looked like eyes. I reached out one tendril of slime and poked it. At first, nothing happened. Then the world shook. A dull thud echoed through the stone. Energy surged up through my body in a tidal wave that almost tore my mind apart. Dark power roared out of the egg and slammed into my core. Warning: unknown energy stream is attempting to sync with the soul. No kidding. I felt pressure slam against me. Something vast and ancient trying to fit into a container that was far too small. It hurt like having my insides pulled through a shredder. My mind screamed. My body convulsed. I tried to pull away, but my slime had already stuck to the shell. The spiral lines flashed brighter in my senses, and cracks began to form. The egg was hatching. The air grew heavy enough to crush. Magicules swirled into a vortex, all of it racing toward the egg as if the entire cave had decided to empty itself into that single point. A blinding streak of black light burst from the shell and stabbed into the ceiling. The stone above us groaned. Dust rained down. The air buzzed with static. Something inside the egg screamed. It was not a sound my ears could have heard. It was a raw shock that slammed straight into my soul. A mix of hunger, rage, and a strange, lonely ache. Cracks spread across the surface. Pieces of black shell exploded outward, passing through my body like shards of ice. I barely felt them. My whole awareness focused on the thing crawling out of the shell and straight into me. A small shape dropped into my slime. I jolted, more from instinct than logic, and caught it inside my body before it hit the floor. The pressure vanished all at once. The magic storm slowed. The dead zone held its breath. For a moment, there was only quiet. Then a new weight shifted inside me. I pulled my magic sense inward. There, cradled in the center of my jelly mass, a child floated. He looked like a human boy around 7 years old. His skin was pale, almost shining. His hair was black with a faint purple tint in my magic sight. His eyes were closed, lashes long and dark against his cheeks. Even with his face relaxed, something about him set my nerves on fire. The shadows inside my body clung to his outline. Magicules bent around him in a spiral, drawn in and swallowed like water down a drain. A tiny hand twitched. Long, thin fingers brushed against my inner surface, leaving trails of cold fire. At the edge of my perception, I felt another presence stir. A massive aura, wild and stormy, uncoiled from deeper in the cave. The pressure hit me like a physical wall. "You fool." The voice boomed straight through my mind, deep and rough and offended. "You actually touched that thing. Right? The seal dragon." I swallowed a nervous thought. I had not met him yet, but I knew who that aura belonged to. Veldora, the storm dragon, spoke again, this time with a note of frantic energy I would never have expected from a legendary being. "Do you understand what you have done, little slime? You have hatched the Black Progenitor." Black Progenitor. The word sent a chill through my core. Even without the details, I could tell this was bad. Great Sage. Clarification. Answer. The label Black Progenitor refers to a primordial class demon aligned with darkness. Threat level is far beyond current capacity of the host, so I just pulled a broken egg of a top-level demon into my body. Nice. The weight of that settled on me slowly. At the same time, I could feel something else. The child inside my slime was cold. Not just physically. His soul felt thin and weak, like a candle about to go out. His magic flickered and frayed. He was dying. Instinct pushed aside fear. "No, you're not allowed to die in here. I just got you out." Magicules surged from my core toward him before I even gave a command. It felt like pouring my blood into another body. My vision dimmed as his small form drank the energy without restraint. Warning: energy reserves dropping at extreme rate. I know. Keep feeding him. I clung to that choice even as my own awareness started to blur. The boy trembled. His back arched in slow motion. His eyes opened just a crack. Black. Not dark. Not brown. Pure black scara with a thin ring of molten gold floating in the center. Those eyes looked at nothing. They shook under invisible weight, confused and wild. He tried to breathe, but his chest only spasmed. His fingers clawed at the inside of my slime like an animal trapped in a cage. A strange tug pulled at my soul. Secondary effect detected. Early formation of a corridor link between host and entity. Emotional feedback expected. I felt it at once. Hunger. Not simple hunger for food. A deep craving for energy, for souls, for praise. A sharp need to latch onto something safe and never let go. Rage coiled under it, unfocused and dangerous. He did not know where he was. He did not know who he was. All he knew was that he did not want to go back into the empty dark. It hurt. I gritted my metaphorical teeth. Relax. You are safe, I thought at him. He did not understand the words, but something in him reacted to the intent. His frantic movements slowed. The fingers that had been digging at my inner surface relaxed just a little. Still, his magic kept draining mine at a terrifying pace. My body felt lighter and lighter, as if I was fading out of existence. If this kept going, we would both vanish. Great Sage. Options. Answer. Stabilization possible through naming protocol. Designating the entity as a subordinate and establishing a control corridor link will regulate energy flow and bond the soul structure. Risk of failure is significant, so either I watched him crumble inside me, or I gave him a name and hoped we both survived. It was not much of a choice. I took a breath that my slime form did not need and focused. A name. Something cool. Something fitting. Something that felt right when I looked at that impossible black and gold gaze. A memory floated up from my old life. A sleek car poster on a younger friend wall. A late-night game screen with a boss title. A silly chat where we argued about what sounded cooler, angel or demon. The word came to my tongue without effort. Diablo. The moment I shaped the thought, power shifted. I poured what was left of my magicules into that name and pushed it through the still, forming link. The world went white. It felt like someone had reached into my soul, twisted, and snapped something into a new shape. A bright cord formed between me and the boy, tight and hot, pulsing with shared life. For an instant, I existed only in that connection, no body, no cave, no time. Then everything crashed back. Warning. Magicule reserves near empty. Protective shutdown initiated. I had time for one last look. The child who had been dying now glowed in my senses. Not like a sun, more like a small star made of night, dense and sharp. His body steadied, his breathing smoothed. The frantic hunger in his soul turned toward me with sudden, clear focus. Cold fingers brushed against my mental presence with clumsy care. Mine. The feeling was not possessive in a creepy way. It was raw and simple, the way a stray dog might look at the first hand that fed it. I almost laughed. Welcome to the family, Diablo. Then the darkness swept me under. Consciousness returned in slow pieces. First sound, the distant hiss of something wet moving across stone. A soft crunch, the thick drip of liquid hitting the floor in steady drops. Then smell, iron, rot, a sharp sour tang that turned my stomach even though I did not have one. Then feeling. My body had weight again. Magicules flowed slowly through my core. Not full, but enough to keep me stable. The link between me and Diablo thrummed like a quiet heartbeat in the back of my mind. I opened my awareness fully. The cave chamber around me felt different. The dead zone was still there, but the air held new scars. Bits of shattered shell lay scattered, each tiny piece humming with faint memories of power. The ground near me was torn and gouged, as if something had clawed through it with bare hands. And there were bodies. My magic sense counted them at once. Half a dozen large serpents with thick bodies and sharp horns. Tempest serpents. Their energy signatures were gone. Only cooling flesh remained. Each one lay in a small pool of blood. Necks snapped or twisted, scales crushed in messy hand-shaped marks. They were piled in front of me, not scattered as if from battle, but arranged neatly, heads in one direction, tails fanned out, an offering. At the top of that pile, a small boy sat cross-legged. He was naked, his skin marked with thin smears of blood, but none of it was his. His hair fell into his face in messy black strands. His eyes were open now. Those eyes turned toward me the moment I stirred. Black sclera, gold irises like molten metal. Our connection flared. Hunger, pride, a nervous flutter that felt almost like panic. He stared at me without blinking. Then, slowly, his lips curved into a hopeful smile. I realized I was still a slime. A faint blue thin jelly blob on the stone. Very dignified parent figure. The boy did not care. He placed both hands on his knees, straightened his back, and spoke in a quiet, rough voice that sounded in used words. Master. The word echoed in the cave. It rolled along the offer of blood and flesh, and raw effort piled in front of me. His throat worked. He swallowed, then tried again, slower. Master. Father. The second word hit me harder than any magic attack could have. My core wobbled. I almost dropped my shape. I felt his emotions through the link. He did not say it because he understood human family structures. He said it because his soul had imprinted on the first presence that reached into the dark and pulled him out. In his mind, the line between master and family was thin. He had killed these monsters while I slept. Not carefully. The marks on the bodies told that story. Some were crushed by pure physical force. Others had holes burned straight through them, edges blackened. Residual magic clung to the wounds like soot. A replay flashed into my mind. Request detected. Showing recorded visual of past event. Great Sage projected the memory directly into my awareness. I saw myself slump against the floor as my magic spilled into Diablo. The serpent sensed weakness and slithered closer, jaws opening to show rows of hooked fangs. Their bodies moved in a circle, surrounding my limp slime form and the small boy resting inside. One serpent lunged. The child inside me snapped awake. In the memory, his eyes opened in a single sharp motion. His body blurred, and then he was outside, standing barefoot on the stone. He did not even flinch as cold air hit his skin. The serpent struck. He stepped forward, caught its open mouth with one hand, and slammed it into the ground so hard the floor cracked. Bone and scale shattered with a loud crunch. Before the body finished twitching, he had already thrown himself at the next one. He moved like an animal. No technique, no plan, just speed and raw power. He tore through scales with his bare fingers. He twisted necks. He stomped down on skulls and drove them into the stone. Black energy burst from his hands in jagged waves. Wherever it touched, flesh rotted and collapsed into ash. The serpents fought back, spitting venom and wrapping their bodies around him in tight coils, but every time, he simply broke free. He laughed once, not with joy, more like relief, as if killing something felt familiar and safe. The memory ended with him dragging the bodies into a rough pile in front of my resting slime form. He wiped blood from his hands onto his legs, looked at the mess, and nodded. Gift. That quiet thought had drifted through the link even while I slept. The replay faded. I was back in the present, staring at the same pile. The boy shifted on his seat and watched me, waiting for my reaction. Great Sage. Answer. Entity has accepted the name Diablo. Soul corridor is stable. A magicule siphon function is active. Magicule siphon, right? Even now, a small steady stream of my energy flowed toward him. Not enough to knock me out again, but enough to keep him anchored to the material world. Useful in the long run. Terrifying right now. I took a moment to steady my thoughts, then slid forward until I was right in front of the pile. Up close, the body smelled even worse. My magic sense traced every crack and bone, every torn scale. It was messy and brutal, but completely effective. The boy watched me like a cat watching its owner examine a dead bird. Tense, hopeful, ready to wilt if I pushed the gift away. I drew myself up as much as a slime could and tried to sound like a responsible adult instead of a former salaryman who had just adopted a living disaster. He did all this while I was asleep. He hesitated, then nodded. A tiny spark of pride flickered in the link. For me, his words were short, but the feeling behind them was clear. He had protected me. He had brought me food. He had done his best. I could not praise the killing itself. These serpents were dangerous, but the way he had done it told me enough about his instincts. Still, ignoring his effort would hurt him more than any lecture could fix. I pulsed my slime body in a gentle wave and reached up, forming a small hand-shaped protrusion. My surface flowed until I had a simple soft palm. I rested that palm on his head. His entire body went still. For a heartbeat, he did not breathe. Then he shook, just once, as if a sudden shiver had run through him. Warm. The thought drifted over the link. He leaned into the touch like a child who had never been patted before. His eyes closed, and the sharp gold light softened. "You did well protecting me," I said. "Thank you." His fingers curled over his knees. His shoulders dropped in relief. Pride swelled in his chest, almost too strong, and I had to brace myself as it flowed back through the corridor. At the edge of my mind, a familiar laugh rumbled. "Quahahaha! You really did it, little slime." Veldora. His presence filled the cave like a storm cloud, heavy and wild. For the first time, I felt nothing but amusement from him. The earlier panic was still there under the surface, but he was handling it with laughter now. "So, you named the black one and made him your child." I did not expect that even from a foolish reincarnated human. "You could have warned me before I touched the egg," I thought back. "I am sealed, not blind. I sensed the thing waking only after you poked it. Also, you would have ignored me." He was not wrong. The dragon snorted in my mind. "Still, this is interesting. A slime with a primordial demon for a son. The world will not be ready." I try not to think too hard about that. One crisis at a time. Right now, I had a boy sitting on a pile of corpses, leaning into my hand like a cat that had finally found a home, and a dragon watching us like we were his new favorite show. I pull my attention back to Diablo. "We should get you some clothes." He opened his eyes and tilted his head. "Clothes." He tasted the word like it was new. "Something to wear," I explained. "You cannot just walk around like this." He glanced down at himself, then at the bodies. "Use these." I hurried to cut that idea off. "No, we will not make clothes out of snakeskin right now." He looked mildly disappointed. I tried to remember how I had handled things in the original flow of events. In the other timeline, I had met goblins, direwolves, and Veldora in a very different order. Still, I could generate simple clothes with my skills if I focused. Production of basic garments is possible, Great Sage confirmed. All right, I pulled the serpents into my body one by one, breaking them down with my predator skill. Energy flowed into my core, refilling what Diablo had drained. Their cores and materials were stored, ready for later. Diablo watched with wide eyes as the pile shrank. "Eat." His voice held respect, not disgust. To him, this was efficient disposal. "You are something else," I muttered. Once the floor was mostly clean, I focused and converted part of the store matter into fabric. A simple black shirt and trousers formed in my slime, then slid out of my body and settled in front of him. He stared, then reached out and touched the cloth with careful fingers. "For me." "Yes." "Put them on." He needed a moment to figure out how sleeves worked, but he was clever. He struggled a bit, got an arm stuck, glared at the shirt like it had insulted him, then finally pulled it on the right way. The trousers followed with slightly less trouble. Once dressed, he looked less like a wild creature and more like a strange child. The magic around him was still sharp and heavy, but the clothes made him feel grounded. He stood and faced me, shoulders back. "How do I look?" I made my slime body bob in a nod. "You look good." His cheeks flushed faintly, not from shyness, but from the rush of getting praise. Behind the praise, I felt something else in him, a quiet confusion. He had instincts that told him to hunt, to destroy, to tear apart anything that looked at him wrong. At the same time, the bond between us told him to sit, listen, ask, and wait for my voice. Nature and nurture meeting in the middle. I guess this is my life now. Babysitting a walking calamity. Veldora cleared his throat in my head. "Since things have changed already, little Rimuru, we should talk about my situation as well, right?" The seal. I had not forgotten about him. He was the reason I had this cave, this body, and probably this ridiculous egg. Diablo turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing. He sensed a dragon too. The link between us carried the edge of his response. Wariness, excitement, a flare of instinctive challenge. "Come." I told him through the bond. He relaxed at once, though his fingers still twitched at his sides. We will talk, I told Veldora. Good. I am bored out of my mind in here. The dragon launched into an explanation of his ceiling and the details of his prison. I listened, half of my focus on his story, half on Diablo. The boy moved closer until he stood right beside my slime form. Then he crouched and rested one hand on the floor near me, as if guarding my side. Every now and then, his eyes flicked toward the shadows, checking for threats. Emotional bleed flowed both ways. He felt my curiosity about Veldora and adjusted, growing more interested than hostile. I felt his protective urge, and my own caution sharpened in response. By the time Veldora finished his speech and suggested a pact, I knew two things for sure. First, sealing the dragon inside me was still the best way to solve both our problems. Second, whatever this new bond with Diablo became, it would shape every choice I made from now on. You want freedom, I told Veldora. I want information and power and a little more security for my child. The dragon laughed again. Then let us form a contract. You hold my soul. I'll lend you my strength. Great Sage confirmed that the plan was workable. The presence of Diablo would complicate the internal space, but not break it. I extended my consciousness. A complex magic circle formed in my mind, guided by the skill. Chains of light reached out to wrap around Veldora's massive spirit form. As our pact settled, another cord joined the web in my soul. Veldora's wild storm presence. Diablo's dark star. My own core in the center. A strange little family. A sealed dragon for an uncle, a primordial demon for a son, and a former human as the glue in the middle. When the light faded, Veldora's aura vanished from the cave and reappeared inside me, swirling around an empty space that would become his home. Ah, this is much better. I can move. I can talk. I can watch everything. Quahahaha. Diablo stiffened at the sudden shift inside me, then slowly relaxed as the dragon's amusement washed over us instead of raw killing intent. Uncle, I said, testing the word, half as a joke. Veldora paused. Uncle, I like that. Diablo glanced toward my slime body as if he could see the dragon inside. Family. The thought came from him, soft and stunned. For a moment, all the hunger and rage in his soul quieted. I looked around the cave one last time. The dead zone still lay at the center, empty now that the egg was gone. The herbs at the edge seemed to lean away from it. The stones still carried the scars of Diablo's first hunt. We could stay here longer. Train, explore, get used to each other, or we could step outside and face a world that had no idea what was coming. My decision came quickly. Let's go, I said. Diablo nodded without asking where or why. To him, my choice was enough. He moved to my side as I bounced toward the tunnel. The link between us hummed with mixed emotions. Curiosity, excitement, a faint nervous fear that he tried to hide. I felt it all. He felt my own fear and determination in return. We left the chamber together. Behind us, the cave held its silence. Ahead, a new world waited, full of monsters, nations, and people who would one day learn that the slime who walked out of this cave had not come alone. The forest felt huge the first time we stepped out of the cave. Wind brushed my slime body in little waves I could not really feel, but magic sense fed me everything. Trees everywhere like pillars. Smaller monsters darting between roots. Magicules drifting through the air in an easy, lazy flow compared to the heavy mess inside the cave. Beside me, Diablo walked barefoot on the soil. He stayed close, always just to my right, fingers curled, shoulders slightly forward like he was ready to pounce on anything that moved. His new clothes stayed clean even when branches scraped him. Magicules around him twisted in a quiet spiral, feeding on my energy through our link. The siphon was constant now, a steady pull from my core to his. Not enough to hurt, but I felt the drain. Great Sage called it a stabilizing function. To me, it felt like carrying a small black sun that refused to burn out. You were staring, Master. His voice was soft. He did not look at me when he said it, eyes scanning the trees instead. I let my body bounce once, just checking you were not going to punch the forest. He thought about that, then nodded as if it was a serious order. I will not harm the trees unless they attack you. That was not really the problem, but I let it go. One step at a time. We moved through the forest without much resistance. Monsters sensed us and moved away. A few curious things watched from a distance, then slunk off the moment Diablo glanced their way. Our link carried his moods. Calm, curious, a thin layer of hunger always there under everything. Every time something fled, there was a faint spike of disappointment. No challenge. No hunt. I felt it, and he felt my answer. Relief. A bit of wariness. A small frown tugged at his mouth. You dislike it when I kill too much. It was not a question. I gathered myself and hopped over a fallen branch. I dislike it when you kill without a reason. He fell silent for a few steps, thinking that through. Food is a reason. Of course it was. Before I could answer, magic sense tingled. Something weak was stumbling toward us. Several somethings. Shapes pushed through the trees ahead. Small, thin bodies. Rough wooden spears. Ragged clothes. Goblins. They smelled like fear and old sweat. Scratches and bruises covered their skin. Their magic was so faint it barely registered. A group of about 10, led by an older one with a crooked back. He staggered, gasping for air, then froze when his eyes landed on Diablo. He did not even react to me at first. The blue slime on the ground meant nothing. The pale boy at my side with black eyes did. The leader dropped to his knees so fast his legs almost buckled sideways. His spear clattered out of his hands. Gee, great one. His voice shook. The other goblins copied him without thinking, all dropping down, faces pressed to the dirt. Great one singular, but every single one of them looked at Diablo. Diablo blinked. Then he glanced down at me, confused. They are defective. I almost choked. What? He gestured at the goblins with one hand. Their bodies are weak. Their magic is thin. They smell like prey. The leader flinched harder, as if he could somehow hear that without the link. I sighed inside. Veldora snorted in my soul space. Quahahaha. The child is honest. Goblins are weak. Helpful as always, uncle. The old goblin forced himself to raise his head. His eyes kept trying to slide off Diablo's shadow, as if it hurt to look for too long. Please, Supreme One. He swallowed. Great being. We beg your aid. His gaze flicked between us, could not decide who to talk to, then locked on Diablo again, because fear pushed him toward what terrified him most. Our village is under attack. By wolves. Many wolves. Dire wolves, I guessed. Canon memories and great sage reports lined up. He pushed on. We cannot win. We will all die. Please, gods of the forest, have mercy. My slime body tilted. God was a bit much. Diablo watched the goblins with open disinterest. Why did they not run? He really did not understand. They have nowhere to go, I said. He turned his head slightly to look at me. Then they die. We can eat them. Every goblin in earshot started shaking so hard their teeth clicked. They did not understand the words, but his tone and eyes told them enough. My core spiked with annoyance. That went straight through the link and brushed his mind like a slap on the wrist. He stiffened. No, I made my voice firm. This was not something I could let slide. We do not eat people who ask for help. He frowned. Why? Because that is my rule. He stared at me. There was resistance in his chest, a dark instinct that said consume, dominate, clear the board. Through our link, that instinct brushed against my own memories. Back streets where kids bullied a weak one for fun. Office corners where quiet co-workers were ignored until they broke. The way it felt to be stabbed in a world where no one stepped in. The emotional bleed went both ways. Diablo flinched as if he had walked into someone else's nightmare. He lowered his gaze, lashes hiding the sharp gold. I do not like that feeling. Good. I softened my tone a little. Listen, we are strong. They are not. That means we protect them. He sounded doubtful. So they can serve you. That was not wrong, but I did not want that to be the only reason. So they can live. He did not argue again. His hunger did not vanish, but it shifted. The target changed from the weak goblins to whatever threatened them. His eyes flicked back to the old goblin. The leader froze, sweat running down his temple. Diablo spoke in slow, clear words. If Master wishes, I will not eat you. The goblin clearly did not understand, but his survival instincts told him that was good news. I slid forward, bumping lightly against Diablo's leg. Let me handle the talking. You just look scary in the background. He gave the tiniest nod. Very well. I turned my body toward the goblins. Explain. What wolves? How many? Great Sage translated my words into a pressure of magic that their simple minds could follow. The leader swallowed again. Dire wolves of the great forest, Great One. A strong pack, more than 30. Our warriors fall one by one. Our chief sent us to beg the ones of the cave for aid. He finally looked straight at me as he said cave. The myth in his head shifted. Slime plus demon child. Cave monsters. Gods. Nice title. Slightly heavy. We will help, I said. The goblins all gasped. Raise your heads. Lead us to your village. They obeyed at once, scrambling upright. A few nearly toppled over from relief. The leader bowed low, almost touching his forehead to the dirt. Thank you, Great One. He still did not know which one of us he was thanking. That was fine. We followed them through the trees. Every few minutes, I checked the link. Diablo moved quietly at my side, expression calm. Inside, he was restless. The idea of wolves as enemies interested him much more than starving goblins. I let him feel my approval. His mood steadied. We broke out of thick trees into a rough clearing. The goblin village was smaller than I expected. A few crude huts made of logs and straw. Patches of dirt instead of streets. Gaunt goblins limped between shelters, carrying makeshift weapons. Some lay on the ground, wrapped in thin cloth, groaning from wounds. They all stopped when they saw us. No one screamed at the sight of a blue slime. All the noise died when they saw Diablo. He stepped into the clearing behind me, black and gold eyes scanning the crowd. His shadow stretched across the dirt, not quite matching the angle of the sun. It clung to his feet like a dark pool and then thinned, sliding around his toes in a slow ring. The goblins fell to their knees, all at once, as if someone had cut their strings. Gee God, demon, help us, kill us. Their voices tangled, half prayer, half panic. Diablo looked down at them with an unreadable face. Master, they're shaking. That is what fear looks like, I said. He considered this, then tilted his head. They should be afraid. I could not even argue. The oldest goblin limped forward. His back bowed under age and injuries, but he forced himself to stand upright when he reached me. Great One from the cave, we beg your strength. Our warriors are tired. Our arms are weak. The wolves come every night now. They will be here again when the sun falls. His eyes slid toward Diablo for a second, just long enough to make his voice crack. We cannot stop them. I extended a part of my body and touched his wounded arm. Great Sage, healing. Under the slime, flesh knit. Bruises faded. The goblin gasped as his pain eased and stared at the clean skin with open shock. A miracle, he whispered. The other goblins watched their leader heal, and hope flickered in their hollow eyes. Diablo watched nothing but me. You give them your power without taking anything. I shrugged inside. If they live, they can work, hunt, build. That pays me back later. He frowned again. That is too slow. Tough. I healed a few more. Their gratitude hit me in waves, loud and loud, like kids who had never seen a real adult before. God, one whispered. Lord, another murmured. Diablo listened, then suddenly stepped forward, his shadow gliding ahead of him like spilled ink. The nearest goblins yelped and scrambled back. One tripped and fell on his rear, breathing hard. Diablo stopped where he was. His expression did not change, but the air around him dipped a little colder. He looked across the gathered goblins and spoke in a voice that carried to every ear. You will live because Master says so. Simple, clear, terrifying. The goblins pressed their faces to the dirt in a single motion. The Prince of Fear, Veldora, cackled inside me. That is a good name. I ignored him. Night came faster than I wanted. We spent the afternoon reinforcing the village. Goblins dragged sharpened stakes into rough lines. I taught them how to tie branches together to make simple fences. Diablo walked the perimeter, gaze fixed on the tree line, as if daring anything to approach. Every so often, a small goblin child would peek out from behind a hut to stare at him. His eyes would meet theirs. They would squeak and vanish. Once a brave one did not run. A tiny goblin girl with a torn cloth wrapped around her arm. She stood at the corner of a hut, clutching the wall, and watched Diablo in wide-eyed silence. He paused and looked back. The girl trembled but did not move. She probably could not run, even if she wanted to. Her leg dragged when she shifted her weight. Diablo tilted his head a little. The link buzzed with confusion. He was used to people running, not staring. He took one slow step toward her. Her breath hitched. She did not bolt. He stopped just outside arm reach. "You are injured." His tone was flat, but the words were obvious. The girl gulped and nodded. "Yes, great one." He glanced sideways at me, unsure. I slid over and touched her leg. Healing flowed again. Her torn muscles stitched. Pain faded. She stared down at her leg, then up at us, eyes wet. "Thank you." She bowed toward me, then toward Diablo, and hurried away, stumbling only once out of habit before her body remembered it did not hurt anymore. Diablo watched her go. She smiled, he murmured. He sounded surprised. "If you do not kill them, they can do that," I said. He hummed under his breath, thinking hard. As the sky dimmed, torches flared up around the village. Goblin warriors gathered at their posts with spears and trembling arms. Diablo stood near the center, a step behind me, his hand lightly touching my slime body, as if to confirm I was still there. My magic sense stretched out like a thin net. "They're coming," I said. From the forest, a low, rumbling growl rolled toward us. Then another, then many more. Eyes floated up between the trees, shining with predatory light. Dark, sleek shapes moved in a fan. Direwolves, big, with sharp fangs and muscles made for killing. The goblins shook. Spears rattled. One dropped his weapon, picked it back up with shaking hands. "You all stay behind me," I called out. My voice cut through the fear, helped by a little magic pressure. The goblins shifted, forming a rough line. None of them dared to stand in front of us. Diablo did not shake. His grip on my side tightened. I felt his excitement surge through the link. Finally, prey that was worth his time. "Remember my rule," I warned him. "Protect the weak." He repeated it like a new magic spell, trying to fix it in his mind. The wolves padded out of the trees and into the torchlight. There were more than 30, just like the goblin had said. Their fur bristled, thick and dark. Flames flickered in the back of some throats. Magic gathered around the largest one at the center, the alpha, green eyes glowing brighter than the rest. He stepped forward and snarled. Behind me, goblins whimpered. I rolled forward, ready to use water blade and stick threads, just like in the other timeline. I pulled magic up, felt it gather, and focused on the alpha. Then Diablo moved. He stepped out from behind me and walked forward, slow and calm, until he stood alone in front of the goblin line. The torches threw his shadow long across the ground. The wolves growled louder, as if angry at his lack of fear. "Rimuru," Veldora said, voice suddenly more serious. "Watch this." Diablo stopped a few paces away from the first wolf. The pack tensed, ready to spring. He inhaled. Magicules around us shook. My skin prickled. The link pulsed once, then flared as he pulled power up from the depths of his soul. He did not chant. He did not call a skill name. He simply let go. Pressure slammed down on the clearing. It was not visible, but every living thing felt it. My core thudded. Goblins dropped to their knees with strangled cries, pressing their faces to the dirt under the weight of his presence. Torches sputtered as air itself seemed to thicken. The wolves froze. The alpha took one step forward, then another, then his legs buckled. He hit the ground with a heavy thump, front leg splayed, chest heaving. His eyes went wide, pupils shrinking to tiny dots. A sharp smell hit my senses. He had lost control of his bladder. Every wolf behind him felt it. Their magic shattered, confidence collapsing in an instant. They whimpered, ears flattening tight against their skulls, tails tucking between their legs. Some tried to back away, paws scrabbling on the packed dirt. Diablo kept walking until he stood right in front of the alpha. "Lord Ambition," Veldora breathed, amused and impressed. "He is using aura the way true demons do." I could barely keep myself upright in slime form. His pressure did not target me directly, but the link made it impossible to ignore. My magicules roared in answer, instinctively pushing back to keep my sense of self. Diablo looked down at the alpha, expression very calm. The wolf dared not lift his head. His body trembled so hard his claws scratched lines into the ground. Diablo spoke. "Submit." His voice was soft enough that the closest goblins could only just hear it, but to the wolves it might as well have been written in the air. The alpha squeezed his eyes shut. "We surrender," he choked out. His words came out rough, half growl, but clear enough for great sage to translate. We will obey. Just spare us. The rest of the pack echoed the same feeling, even if they did not speak. Diablo lowered the pressure in a slow wave. Goblins gasped as the weight lifted. Some slumped forward, panting, sweat running down their faces. The wolves stayed where they were, flattened to the ground. Diablo turned his head toward me. Is this satisfactory, master? I let the magic I had been holding dissipate. That works. Relief and pride flickered in his chest. Through the link, I caught a shadow of the instinct that had driven him. His hunger liked the idea of devouring them. But my rule sat between his soul and that urge like a barrier, forcing the energy into another shape. Submission instead of slaughter. I slid forward and stopped beside him. The alpha kept his gaze down. I will ask once, I said. Will you serve us? He swallowed. We will. He forced himself to raise his head just enough to look at me, avoiding Diablo's eyes completely. I am the leader of this pack. If you spare us, we will serve you until death. The link fluttered at the mention of death. Diablo leaned toward me, silent question in his posture. Why does that word matter? Later, I told him. Right now, I focused on the wolf. Fine. From today, you and your pack protect this village. You hunt for them. You fight for them. In return, you get food, shelter, and my protection. The alpha shivered. We accept. I nodded. Then raise your head. Tell me your name. He hesitated. Name. He did not have one, I realized. Just a role. In that case, I felt Diablo lean even closer. He enjoyed this part, naming. The bond between us made him sensitive to those threads. I looked at the wolf. His fur was darker than the rest, with a faint silver sheen under the torchlight. Lightning in his magic. Ranga, I said. Magic flared from my core and flowed into the wolf. His body jerked as the naming took hold. Light flashed, then dimmed. The pack yelped as the bond between them shifted, their magic rising in a wave. I felt the strain as my magicules poured out. Diablo's siphon faltered for a moment, as if he instinctively shut it down to avoid draining me dry during this. The fact that he could do that at all told me he was learning control. When the glow faded, Ranga stood taller. His wounds had healed. A strange mark formed on his forehead, the hint of a horn poking through. He bowed his head to me, then flinched and bowed even lower when Diablo's gaze brushed over him. My lord, my master. His tail curled tight. His eyes refused to land on the boy for more than a heartbeat. Fear poured off him like steam. The pet is terrified of the young master, Veldora chuckled. I approve. I cut the dragon off before he could teach Diablo something stupid. The goblins watched all this with awe. Their view of me shifted from God to something even stranger. The slime that commanded a demon child and a wolf king. We spent the rest of the night smoothing the new structure. Goblins brought food. Wolves carried bodies away. Diablo sat near the fire and watched everyone move with a quiet look on his face. His hand rested on my side the entire time, as if the chaos made him cling more. At one point, Ranga crept closer. He stopped a safe distance away, lay down, and pressed his snout to the dirt. My master, he said, voice low. Yes. He swallowed. What is the young one to you? I glanced at Diablo. His eyes were closed. He was not asleep, just resting. Through the link, I felt him listening anyway. My son, I replied. Ranga's entire body jerked. Son, yes. He turned his gaze slightly toward Diablo, then quickly away again. Then I will never harm him, he said at once. His fear did not vanish, but something else slid in beside it. Duty, good. The moment hung there, simple and heavy. By the time dawn painted the sky pale, the village still stood. No dead goblins, no torn huts, just tired bodies and new bonds. The goblin chief, now healed enough to walk without wobbling, approached me as the first light filtered through the trees. Great one, he said, bowing. We owe you our lives. Beside him, Ranga dipped his head again. From this day, we and our descendants serve Rimuru, and we will obey the prince as well. He dared a glance at Diablo, then looked away fast. Diablo did not respond, but pride warmed his chest. He liked the title, even if he did not fully understand it. I thought ahead. We would need weapons, clothes, tools, something better than sticks and cloth scraps. Dworgen, the idea slotted into place. Dwarven craftsman, just like canon. We're going to visit a city, I told Diablo. His head turned toward me at once. City, a place with many people, buildings, shops. He looked thoughtful, then almost hopeful. More things to protect for you. More headaches, I corrected in my head, but I understood the sentiment. I turned to Ranga. I need you and the pack to guard this village while we are gone. Yes, master. Relief and fear tangled in his aura. He was glad he did not have to come near Diablo for a while. The goblins looked worried at the idea of us leaving, but I reassured them. We will return with better equipment, I said. Until then, hide, train, and let the wolves handle any smaller threats. They accepted that because they had no choice. Soon after, Diablo and I climbed onto Ranga's back. The wolf tensed under Diablo's weight, muscles tight. Rimuru, he whispered through a private link Great Sage helped open. Must the prince ride me? Yes. Ranga made a tiny whine, but did not argue. Diablo sat behind me, one arm wrapped around my slime body, the other hand resting lightly on Ranga's fur. His eyes shone with curiosity as the village shrank behind us. The trip to Dworgen did not take long, with a named direwolf sprinting through the forest. Wind rushed past, leaves blurred, monsters scattered. At the edge of the dwarven city, I had Ranga stop in the trees. You wait here, I told him. He looked relieved again. Yes, master. He melted back into the forest, leaving Diablo and me to approach the massive gate alone. The line at the entrance looked similar to what I remembered from the other timeline. Merchants with carts, adventurers with weapons and armor, travelers of all races shuffling forward as guards checked papers. We drew stairs the moment we joined the back of the line. It was hard not to. A blue slime and a pale boy with black eyes and no shoes did not exactly blend in. I heard whispers. What is that? Monster tamer kid. Those eyes. Diablo ignored them. He stayed at my side, gaze on the gate, posture relaxed but ready. His shadow slipped over the stone, making some people step away without realizing why. A rough-looking group of adventurers a bit ahead kept throwing glances back at us. One man with a scar over his nose scowled openly. Monsters should not be in line with decent folk, he muttered to his companions. I pretended not to hear. I had a plan in mind already from the canon events. Small scuffle, quick beat down, jail, then audience with the king. This time, the tension was worse. We had Diablo. The scar man finally turned fully to face us as the line inched forward. Hey kid. Diablo did not respond. The man stepped closer, ignoring the guards who shouted at him to stay in line. I said hey. He reached out a hand as if to grab Diablo's shoulder. The link flared. Diablo's mood dropped. The hand reaching for him tripped his instincts. Unwelcome touch. Threat to master. His fingers twitched. Shadows thinned around his feet, ready to bite. I pushed through the link hard. Do not kill him. Diablo paused, hand still at his side. The adventurer grabbed his shoulder. Big mistake. The boy's head turned slowly. He looked at the hand on his shoulder first, then at the man's face. The adventurer's smile wavered. Those eyes, they were not human. Black everywhere, gold burning in the middle. The man tried to act tough anyway. Kids should not play with monsters. Get lost before you cause trouble. He gave Diablo a little shove. Enough. I whipped out a tentacle of slime and wrapped it around the man's wrist. He jerked, surprised. What the? I squeezed, not hard enough to break, but enough to make him wince. We're not causing trouble, I said. You are. He glared down at me. Talking slime now. Great. He tried to pull free. I raised my other tentacle and tapped his chest. Body tempering, magic sense, predator. I had more than enough tools. A gentle push of magic sent him flying back a step. He lost his balance and landed on his rear with a loud thud. The line went quiet. The guards moved at once. Oi. No fighting at the gate. Spears lowered in our direction. The air shifted. This was about where I had expected to get arrested. Diablo stood very still, jaw tight, watching the spears. His shoulders trembled with the effort of not reacting. I could feel the instinct in him, rising and falling with every breath. Rip them apart. Protect. Clear the threat. I sank calm through the link. It is fine. Let them take us. He swallowed and forced himself to relax. The guards approached, eyes flicking between me and the boy. You two, come with us, one barked. No resisting. I let my tentacle withdraw. Sure. Dworgen's jail smelled like damp stone and old ale. They locked us in a cell, strong bars, basic bench. 2 guards watched from outside, hands never far from their weapons. Diablo sat beside me on the bench, arms resting on his knees, eyes lowered. His mood simmered. "I did not like that man touching you," he muttered. "I know." I nudged his arm lightly. "You did well not to eat him." His mouth twitched. Praise helped. His tension eased a little. After a while, footsteps echoed down the hall. Heavy, measured, followed by a ripple of respectful silence from the guards. The cell door opened. King Gazel Dworgo stood there. Even without a crown, he looked like a king. Compact, solid, sword at his side, eyes sharp. His aura was calm, but deep like a strong mountain. He studied me for one breath. Then his gaze slid to Diablo. Everything in the hall tightened. Even without skills, any sensitive person would feel it. Diablo's presence was wrong at a level that had nothing to do with age. Gazel's hand brushed his sword hilt on reflex. This is the source, he thought, and I knew he was right. He took a step closer to the cell, ignoring the guards' nervous glances. "You caused a disturbance at my gate," he said. I bobbed a little. They started it. One corner of his mouth twitched. "But that is not why I am here." He shifted his weight and stared directly into Diablo's eyes. The boy did not look away. For a moment, nothing moved. Then Gazel's unique skill flared. Read thoughts, intuition sharpened by hero training, cutting through surface appearances. He looked deeper. His pupils shrank. Color drained from his face, just a touch. He had peered into the abyss inside the child, and the abyss had looked back, curious. The guards stiffened as the air in the hallway changed. They did not have the skill to see what their king saw, but they felt his tension. Hands slid toward hilts. Diablo's fingers curled slowly where they rested on his knees. Contact through his eyes had triggered something. Old memories, broken pictures, screaming souls. Thrones of bone. The endless dark. His breathing shortened. "Danger," he whispered through the link. I felt his panic and rage spike. His aura started to rise. "Not here." I moved without thinking. My slime body launched off the bench and planted itself between him and the bars. Gazel took that as a threat, and his hand closed fully on his sword. The guards reached for their weapons at once. Enough. My magic flared. For the first time in this life, I let a part of my power leak out on purpose. Veldora's presence stirred inside me, lending weight. Diablo's bond added a dark edge. Pressure hit the hall in a wave, not as strong as Diablo's full presence, but sharp and focused. The guards stopped with their hands half-drawn. The air buzzed. Gazel narrowed his eyes, assessing me again. The boy behind me froze. My action cut through his rising panic. The link shifted. His rage redirected into a tight, expectant focus on me. I spoke slowly, clearly. "Touch my son, and I end this kingdom." The words hung in the air like a blade. The guards paled. Veldora whistled softly in my soul. "Bold." "I approve." Gazel held my gaze. For a long breath, the world narrowed to the two of us, king and slime, father and ruler. He saw the truth in my threat. Not because I already had the power to destroy his nation alone, but because he knew, with that same hero intuition, that I would grow into it. That when backed into a corner where Diablo was at risk, I would not hold back. He exhaled slowly. The pressure in the hall eased just a little. "You calling your son?" he said. "Yes." Gazel looked past me at Diablo again. The boy had calmed, but his eyes still held that wild glint. "The dragon inside you is noisy," the king murmured, almost to himself. "And the thing inside the boy is worse." Veldora laughed. "Looks like he can feel me." In the end, Gazel let go of his sword and stepped back. "Lower the weapons," he ordered. The guards obeyed at once. He faced me properly. "You are a danger to the world, slime." "So is that child." I did not argue. But, he continued, "I'm not eager to start a war inside my own walls." He turned to the guards. "Release them. Return their possessions. Then escort them to the merchant's quarter." One guard gaped. "Your Majesty, This is not mercy," Gazel cut in. "This is strategy." He looked back at me. "You will be exiled from my kingdom. Do not return without my permission." That was still better than a fight. "In exchange," he continued, "I will grant your request for goods. Weapons, clothes, basic supplies. Consider it a parting gift." To appease the demon, he did not say out loud, but I heard it in his tone. I bobbed slowly. Accepted. Diablo rose to his feet behind me. Gazel's jaw tightened at the simple act of the boy standing up. Pressure rippled again for a second, then vanished. The cell door opened. We walked out past the guards, who made sure to keep their eyes on the ground when Diablo passed. In the merchant's quarter, arrangements went even faster than before. Kaijin handled the actual deals, eyes sharp, mind clearly racing with questions he kept to himself. He measured Diablo with a professional eye, pretended not to notice the way his hands trembled slightly when he got too close. The boy stood still as cloth was wrapped around him, then replaced, then wrapped again until a new outfit was cut and stitched. Dark shirt, fitted trousers, light coat. All neat, all comfortable. Rimuru, Kaijin said quietly when Diablo stepped away for a moment to look at a display of blades. Yes. He bent down just enough that the words reached me alone. That boy is dangerous. I know. He hesitated, but he listens to you. So I will trust you for now. That was more than I had expected. We left Dworgen with a wagon full of supplies, a contract that would be hard to honor while exiled and the weight of many eyes on our backs. At the city gate, Gazel watched from the wall as we passed through. He did not call out. He simply stood there, a single solid figure, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. I could not see him clearly from the ground, but I felt his gaze like a line between us. Diablo walked beside me, new coat swaying, bare feet silent on the road. He had not looked back at the city. His focus stayed on me and the road ahead. Once we were clear of the walls and out of earshot, he spoke. You meant it, he said. Meant what? What you told the king. I did not play dumb. Yes. He absorbed that answer in silence. Through the link, old fears and old emptiness shifted. Something settled into place. Good, he said simply. That night, while we camped under the trees on the way back to the village, I felt a new ripple in the world. Far behind us, in a stone chamber lit by torchlight, King Gazel sat at a heavy table, quill in hand. He wrote letters with quick, decisive strokes. To the Western Council, to certain trusted allies. A calamity has been born in Jura, he wrote. The words were simple, but the meaning behind them moved like a seed dropped into still water. Far from our little campfire, ripples began to spread. We reached the village just before noon. Ranga slowed his run and trotted out of the forest with his tongue hanging out, tail swishing nervously. The goblin huts came into view, and every head turned at once. They saw the wagon of supplies first. Then they saw Diablo standing behind me on Ranga's back, black coat fluttering in the wind, eyes calm and unreadable. The entire village shivered. Chief, who now walked without a limp thanks to healing, came forward with a group of goblins who tried very hard not to stare at Diablo. Great one, he said, bowing. You returned. I bounced in place on Ranga's back. Of course. I promised. Diablo slid down to the ground with a light hop and then lifted me off Ranga with both hands, holding me like a strange blue ball. His touch was careful, not tight, but he never hesitated. Ranga crouched in relief when Diablo stepped away. Welcome home, Master, Ranga said, ears flat. Thanks. Keep the pack on patrol while we unload. Yes, Master. He darted off, glad to have an excuse to escape Diablo's aura. The goblins swarmed the wagon, eyes wide as they saw proper tools in cloth and metal. Kaijin had thrown in a few extras on his own. Hammers, nails, cooking pots. Diablo watched them with quiet interest. They move faster now, he observed. Fear is a good motivator, I said. He glanced down at me, expression faintly puzzled. They're not just afraid. Our link carried what he meant. Curiosity, hope, gratitude, right? They had a future now. That changed how they held themselves. We spent the day dividing supplies. Goblins tried on simple armor for the first time, laughing and striking silly poses until they noticed Diablo watching and then froze like children caught playing during work. He did not scold them. He simply stared for a moment, then looked away. That was enough to make them stand straighter and hold their spears correctly. By dusk, the village looked a little less like a miserable camp and a little more like a place where people actually lived. That was when I felt new signatures at the edge of the forest. 3 human magic sources. One stronger source behind them, steady and refined. Adventurers, great sage confirmed. One summoned Otherworlder. I knew who that was before the last two words finished echoing. Shizue. My slime body tensed. Ranga, I called through the link. He responded at once. Yes, master. Bring the visitors in. No attacking. Understood. A little while later, Ranga padded into the clearing at the edge of the village, walking slow so his passengers would not fall. Two men and a woman clung to his fur. Aaron, Kavul, Jido. Their faces were pale with a mix of excitement and fear. Behind them, walking on her own, came a woman in a white mask. She stood straight, sword at her side, cloak fluttering lightly. The mask covered her entire face, eye holes glowing faintly with inner fire. Even from a distance, I felt the heat of the fire spirit inside her. Ifrit, and under that, the exhausted, frayed soul of Shizue Izawa. Diablo froze the moment he saw the mask. The temperature around us seemed to drop a little. Shadows near his feet shifted, clinging tighter to him. Through our bond, something sharp pressed against my mind. That mask, he thought. Do you recognize it? I asked. Not the object. The feeling. The feeling was layered. Old rage. Ancient chains. A scent of burned souls. Ifrit knew Diablo. Not personally, but in the way spirits knew predators. Ranga lowered himself so the adventurers could scramble down. They stumbled a little, then hastily tried to look composed as an entire village of goblins and one demon child stared at them. Aaron spotted me first. Ah, a slime, she said surprised. Kavul lifted his staff, then paused when Diablo turned his head slightly in his direction. Jido swallowed loudly. We came to meet the rumored village guardian, Aaron said, forcing a smile as she walked forward. There is talk that a unique monster protects this goblin settlement. Her gaze slid past me and landed on Diablo. Her voice trailed off. Diablo did nothing. He simply stood there, holding me in his arms, eyes calm, expression all but blank. To an outsider, he looked like a normal child with strange features. To anyone with even a little sense, he felt like standing too close to the edge of a cliff above a bottomless pit. Aaron took a breath to steady herself. So this is your tamer, she joked weakly. No, I said. This is my son. Everyone processing that sentence at once was almost comical. Kavul blinked. You're what? Jido muffled a strangled sound. Even Shizue stopped a few paces behind them, head tilting slightly. Diablo looked down at me, then at them. It is true, he said quietly. The fire spirit inside Shizue stirred. I felt a flare of wary recognition. The same way a small animal senses a predator in the grass. Shizue took another step forward. Her boots barely made a sound. She stopped at a respectful distance and bowed her head slightly. Thank you for receiving us, she said. Her voice was calm, polite, carrying a faint tiredness that never quite left. I am Shizue Izawa. Some know me as the Conqueror of Flames. Diablo's fingers tightened a little where they held me. Flames, he repeated under his breath. The word tasted like old soot. Our eyes met. Be polite. I sent him through the link. He hesitated. His instincts did not like the fire inside her. But the bond between us carried my trust toward her, and that softened his posture. He bent his head a fraction. I'm Diablo, he said. His voice was quiet, but every goblin heard it. Shizue watched him. The mask hid her face, but her aura shifted, a little warmer. I would shake your hand, she said, but I think your father would prefer you keep holding him. She had noticed the way his grip tightened every time someone moved too close. Diablo blinked. Then slowly he nodded. Yes. Aaron let out a breath she probably had not realized she was holding. Right? Well, we came because we heard rumors of a powerful monster forming a village here. She looked at me. You're that monster, right? In a way, I said. The goblins around us nodded frantically. Lord Rimuru is our god. One whispered. Diablo did not react to the word this time. He had heard enough in the past days that it no longer startled him. Shizue took a gentle breath. We were also tracking a certain dragon. The storm dragon, Veldora. Uncle laughed inside my soul space. She's looking for me again. How persistent. He is sealed, I said. You will not find his body outside. Shizue gave a small nod. So I thought. But it was worth confirming. She paused. May I stay here for a while? My students and I have been traveling a long time. I did not need great sage to tell me that this was important. This was the event that would end with Shizue's death. In the other timeline, she and I had shared a meal, some memories, a quiet talk about heroes and regrets. Here, there was another piece. Diablo. I do not mind, I said. Our bond fluttered. Diablo did not like the idea of new people in our space, but he felt my acceptance and mirrored it, if only a little. He does not want trouble, I thought at Shizue, letting a hint of my protectiveness leak through. Her aura answered with something similar. I have my own trouble, she replied softly. I will not add to yours on purpose. We moved them into the largest hut, which had become a common space. Goblin children peeked in from corners and then hid when Diablo looked their way. Aaron tried to break the tension with cheerful talk about the road. Kavul complained about how his back hurt. Jaido nodded along, adding jokes that fell a bit flat every time Diablo's eyes drifted over him. Shizue stayed quiet, watching. She watched how Diablo kept me in his arms, even while sitting. She watched how he checked the door and the single small window again and again, noting lines of approach without really thinking about it. She watched the way his eyes sharpened every time a goblin child got too close to me. He is a guard dog, Veldora snorted. He is a boy, Shizue corrected in her own mind. That difference mattered. Later, when food was passed around, she took a simple fruit from a basket. Something like an apple, round and firm. She looked at Diablo. Do you want to try? He stared at the fruit like it was a puzzle. Is it alive? No. She answered with a small smile in her voice. He glanced at me. I can eat it or I can give it to you, I said. Your choice. He thought for a moment, then sat down properly, placed me in his lap, and held the fruit out to Shizue. Show me. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. All right. She took a knife and showed him how to peel the skin in a spiral, the blade moving carefully away from her fingers. Diablo watched every motion, eyes sharp. This seems inefficient, he murmured. If you slice yourself, you will bleed, she pointed out. Bleeding is temporary, he said. Her hand paused. Sometimes it is not. He had never thought about bleeding as final. His body healed fast. Injuries were a problem only if they left him too bored or too hungry. She handed him the knife handle first. Try. He took it, holding it between long fingers that were used to tearing, not cooking. The knife fit in his hand in a way that felt too natural and too dangerous. He started to peel. The first line of skin came off perfectly smooth. The second wobbled. He frowned and adjusted. Shizue sat close, guiding his hand only when the angle looked risky. Goblins watched this domestic lesson with wide eyes. For them, seeing someone like Shizue teach their terrifying prince how to peel fruit felt like a strange dream. Ranga peeked through the doorway once, saw Diablo handling a blade near Shizue, and nearly fainted from the picture of two disasters in one small hut. Inside our bond, everything shifted quietly. As he peeled, Diablo felt Shizue's presence. The warmth in her aura came through clear. It did not feel like Veldora's wild storm or my steady cool flow. It was something softer, tired and stubborn and kind. He had felt fear and obedience from everyone else. From her, for the first time, he felt a gentle patience that did not come from terror. The knife slipped and nicked his thumb. A bright bead of blood welled up. He watched it with idle curiosity, waiting for it to close. Shizue grabbed his hand. Careful. Her fingers were warm and firm. He blinked. It will heal, he said. She did not let go. Even so, take care of your hands. They are important. She pressed a small cloth to the cut, even though it was already closing. For a second, Diablo forgot the fruit, the knife, everything. He felt her steady grip, heard the simple concern in her voice, and something new cracked open inside him. In the link, I felt it. Confusion. Warm. Yes, I thought. That is what people like her do. Later, he sat outside the hut, while Shizue told stories to the goblins around the fire. She spoke of other worlds, carefully avoiding too many details. She spoke of heroes and monsters and a mentor who had saved her from a burning city. Diablo listened, feet planted in the dirt, arms wrapped loosely around his knees, chin resting on them. His eyes never left her. Her students had heard these tales before, but they still smiled and laughed in the right places. It was routine, a ritual to keep her own ghosts in check. At one point, Shizue glanced our way. If you are from another world as well, she said quietly, This place must feel strange. It does, I admitted. Her masked gaze shifted toward Diablo. And him. He tilted his head. I do not remember another world, he said. Only darkness. Then Master. Shizue's hand tightened on her sword hilt for a heartbeat. She knew what it was to come from a place of heat and pain. We went to sleep that night with a strange sense of peace. The goblins snored in their huts. Ranga curled up near the edge of the village, one eye open. Shizue lay on a bed of straw, mask still in place, students nearby. Diablo did not sleep. Not fully. He sat near the entrance of her hut, back against the wall, eyes half closed, listening. I rested in a wooden tub, body half turned off to let my core recover magic. Sometime past midnight, the atmosphere shifted. Heat. At first it was subtle, a slight rise in temperature, a faint prickling in the air. Then it grew, slow and relentless, like someone had lit a small fire in the center of the village and was feeding it logs. Diablo's eyes snapped open. He stood without a sound. The link between us buzzed. Fire. Spirit. Hunger. My mind snapped fully awake. Shizue. We rushed out at the same time. The night sky above the main hut glowed orange. Flames licked out of the gaps in the roof without burning the wood. Magic fire. The smell was not of smoke, but of something older. Goblins stumbled out of nearby huts, yelling in panic. Ranga jumped up, fur bristling, teeth bared. Stay back, I shouted. Diablo moved ahead of me, his feet leaving faint scorch marks on the ground as the heat pressed around him. We reached the main hut and pushed through the entrance. Inside, the air shimmered. Shizue stood in the center of the room. Her mask lay on the floor, cracked down the middle. Her face was bare, eyes closed, hair lifting slightly in the heat. Flames danced along her body like a cloak. Behind her, like a twisted shadow, loomed Ifrit. The spirit was larger than any human frame. Horned, made of fire and molten stone, eyes burning with cruel delight. Chains of molten light wrapped around Shizue's soul, binding her. She gasped, hand clawing at her chest. And no, she whispered, not here. Ifrit laughed without sound, a roar that only spirits heard. Mine. Diablo froze in the doorway. He saw Shizue, the woman who had held his hand and scolded him over a cut. He saw the fire spirit behind her, strangling her from within. Something ancient woke up in him. Predator. The bond between him and me trembled. He stepped forward into the flames. The heat did not burn him. Shadows around his feet vanished, sucked inward until they formed a thin outline along his body. Ifrit noticed him and paused. The fire spirit tilted his head. Primordial. The thought hit like a growl. Panic flashed across Ifrit's aura. Rage followed in a wave. You should be sleeping. Diablo's eyes turned very calm. You are hurting her. Ifrit snarled. She is my vessel. He pushed the chains tighter. Shizue coughed, fire flickering from her lips. Diablo's fingers uncurled. Inside our bond, I felt the shape of what he wanted to do. He wanted to erase. Not burn. Not cut. Not tear. Erase. The darkness in him knew how to reach into a soul and pull out the core until nothing remained but empty space. If he did that, Ifrit would vanish. No reincarnation. No cycle. No pieces left. The world would lose a spirit. Not a pleasant one, but still a part of its balance. More than that, the act would tear Shizue's soul even further, caught between two hungry forces. Diablo raised his hand. Black lines formed in the air around it. Thin cracks in reality, like the shell of his own egg replaying in reverse. Stop! I shouted through the bond. He did not stop moving, but his focus split. Why? Because if you erase him completely, you will tear her apart, I said. He wanted to argue. The dark part of him did not understand mercy for enemies. In that instant, Shizue's eyes opened. They were not her eyes. Flames burned where pupils should be. Then they flickered. Behind the fire, for just a second, she saw Diablo. Her gaze cleared. She saw the cracks around his hand, the hunger in his aura, the way he was about to reach in her chest and rip out the thing that had tormented her for decades. She could have told him to do it. Instead, she whispered one word. Please. Her voice was very small, not begging for herself. For him. I felt Diablo's magic stutter. She had been kind to him. She had taught him to peel fruit and scolded him for cutting his hand. She had sat by the fire and told stories. If he erased this spirit now and tore her soul in the process, she would vanish in front of him. He lowered his hand, just a little. I cannot leave him inside her, he said through clenched teeth. Then I will handle it, I said. We moved together. Diablo focused on the chains. He stretched his own soul corridor out like a thin thread, letting the black cracks brush along Ifrit's bindings without touching the core. The chains screamed in spirit terms as his touch ate away at their structure. Ifrit roared. You dare. He tried to lash out at Diablo, but every surge of flame that reached for the boy hit the edges of that thin darkness and died. I slipped and passed them both. Predator, I commanded. Great Sage answered at once. Executing, my skill lunged, not at Shizue, but at the spirit tangled around her heart. Ifrit tried to pull back. Diablo's darkness snarled and snapped at his retreat, not to kill, but to pin him in place. It was like watching a hunting dog hold prey while the handler put on the collar. Predator swallowed, but did not digest. Containment complete, Great Sage reported. Target sealed. Damage to host soul reduced. The flames around Shizue flickered and then vanished. She sagged to her knees, chest heaving. Her students rushed forward, faces white, but Diablo stepped between them and their teacher, eyes still dark with leftover killing intent. Do not touch, he said quietly. They stopped dead. I rolled forward and touched Shizue's shoulder. Her body was hot to the touch, even without Ifrit's fire. Her magic flickered like a candle near its end. Great Sage status. Answer. The host body has reached its limit. Age and spiritual erosion are at critical levels. Recovery is not possible. I knew that already. Hearing it in clinical terms still hurt. Shizue swallowed and forced herself to sit upright. Her mask lay broken beside her hand. She picked up one half and stared at it. So he's finally gone, she said softly. For now, I answered. Her lips curved in a small smile. That is enough. Diablo's hand trembled at his side. You will die, he said. He did not dress the word up. Shizue looked at him. Yes. He stared. The link between us shook. Fix it, he demanded, turning to me. His voice cracked. You fix the wolves. You fix the goblins. You can eat fire and make it stop hurting. Fix her. I had expected this moment from the outline and my memories, but that did not make it easier. I wish I could, I said. He grabbed my body with both hands, fingers digging in as if he could force more power out of me by squeezing. Then take more. Take all of it. You took poison out of monsters. You can put life back in. His aura flared. For a second, I saw what he imagined. He saw me pouring all my magic into Shizue until she stood up again, healthy and unburdened. It was a child's solution. Simple, beautiful, impossible. Great Sage, I asked anyway. Answer. There is no path to full recovery. The host's soul has been eroded by Ifrit for decades. Physical healing will not restore missing life force. So this is one of those times where even cheats do not work. I looked at Diablo. My core hurt. She has been walking on borrowed time for a long while, I said gently. He shook his head. I do not care how long. She is kind. She is yours. She is mine. That is enough. Fix her. His voice had that stubborn, raw edge that mothers and fathers everywhere heard when their children faced the idea of loss for the first time. Shizue listened to all this quiet. She saw the dark power coiled under the boy's skin. She saw the way he clung to me with both hands. She saw the fear underneath his anger. Her eyes softened. Come here, she said. He hesitated. Come here, Diablo, she repeated, firmer. He moved. He always obeyed simple direct orders from the few people he trusted. He knelt beside her. She raised a hand that shook with effort and cupped his cheek. Her fingers were still warm, but there was a faint chill under the skin that spoke of the life leaving. He stared at her, eyes wide, as if he could memorize every line of her face through sheer will. Listen, she said. Her voice was calm and slow. You are strong, too strong. Someone like you can rip the world apart. He did not blink. But you are also loved. His breath hitched. That word cut deep. She slid her hand from his cheek to brush through his hair once, like a mother smoothing a child's bangs. Be a good boy, she said. For him. She glanced at me as she said it. Her meaning settled in his chest like a stone. Protect him, she told him without saying the words aloud. Not just his body, his kindness, his softness, His mercy. If you answer every pain with slaughter, you will destroy the very thing you cling to. Tears he did not understand pricked at the corners of his eyes. My chest tightened. Even goblins at the door felt the weight of that simple scene, though they did not grasp all the words. Some lowered their heads. One tiny goblin girl quietly wiped her nose on her sleeve. Shizue's hand fell back to her lap. She looked at me next. "Rimuru," she said quietly. "Yes, take me." I knew what she meant. "Please devour my body," she said. "I do not want to be buried and forgotten. I want to live on in some way." Her students choked. "Teacher, you cannot just ask him to." She smiled at them, tired and fond. "I have always been a weapon," she said. "I would like to end as a gift." Erin's face crumpled. "We are not ready," she whispered. "Nobody ever is," Shizue answered. Her gaze returned to me. "Take care of them if you can. And take care of him." She flicked her eyes toward Diablo. He lowered his head, hair falling into his face. I allowed a long, slow breath. If I refused, she would die anyway, body slowly cooling, leaving only regret and a corpse to attract flies. If I accepted, I could at least carry a part of her and her wishes forward. "All right," I said. She lay down, relaxing into the straw. Her chest rose and fell, each breath shallower than the last. Diablo stayed on his knees beside her, hands clenched so hard his knuckles went white. He watched every rise and fall, as if counting them. 3 breaths. 2. 1. The last one left with a soft sound, barely audible over the crackle of dying embers. Her aura dimmed, slipping free of her body. For a brief moment, her spirit hovered, clear and light, freed from chains and fire. It brushed against Diablo's soul. Warmth, even in death. Then it touched mine. I felt gratitude, relief, a faint regret for the children she had taught who would never see her again. I opened Predator. Her spirit let itself be taken. Great Sage guided the process. Parts of her emerged with my skills, my memories. Other pieces were stored carefully, held like delicate glass. Her body crumbled into light inside me. The hut went very quiet. Diablo stayed frozen, staring at the empty space where she had been. He reached out slowly, fingers closing on nothing. "She was here," he whispered. "I know." He trembled. Then she was gone. The link sent his confusion and raw hurt straight into my core. The concept of death was not new to him. He had caused many deaths in his previous state. But this was the first time it hit someone who had offered him warmth without fear. This time, death did not feel like a clean cut. It felt like someone had reached into his small circle and pulled a piece out. He turned to me, eyes bright. "Bring her back." His voice was the voice of a child who had just watched a favorite toy snap in half and believed that an adult could always fix things. I closed my eyes for a second, then opened them. "I cannot." He flinched like I had struck him. "You are lying." "You would know if I was," I answered quietly. He would. Our bond carried more than words. His hands clenched again. "Then I will learn to do it." That simple vow did not feel like a threat. It felt like desperate hope. He pictured dragging Shizue's spirit back out of my core, patching her together somehow, pushing life in her like one might pour water into a dry cup. His concept of the dead returning was as naive as it was dangerous. Veldora, who had stayed silent through the entire scene, finally spoke. "Rimuru." "Yes, uncle. This is the lesson you must not avoid," he said. He was serious, no laughter in his voice. If the boy believes that death is optional, he will never learn restraint. I knew that already, but hearing it out loud anchored my resolve. "Diablo," I said. He looked at me, eyes red. "You can learn many things. You can bend spirits and eat magic and punch gods." His shoulders tensed. "But there is one rule even we cannot break." He waited. "Once a soul finishes its journey and leaves, it does not come back as the same person." He hated that sentence. His aura twisted. "I am not asking you to like it," I added, "but you need to accept it." He stared. The storm in his chest slowed. "That flame spirit hurt her," he said at last. "Yes, it hurt others as well." "Yes, you let me hold it." He meant the moment where his darkness had pinned Ifrit so Predator could devour. That was the first time someone had asked him to use his power without telling him to kill. "I trusted you," I said. He took that in. If she had wanted me to erase it, he said slowly, I would have done it. "I know." He closed his eyes. She did not want that. His fingers loosened. He opened his eyes again, looking at my slime body. "So I will not do it." The promise was small but important. He would still be brutal. He would still kill in battles without hesitation. But now he had a line he would not cross lightly. Outside, the night slowly shifted toward dawn. Shizue's students sat together in silence, eyes red. Goblins moved quietly around them, offering food and blankets and awkward pats on the shoulder. Ranga lay nearby, ears low, head on his paws. He had seen death before. He still did not like it. Later that day, after a short, simple memorial, I went a little distance into the forest and shaped a human body. Shizue's body. Her face, her hair, her height. I had her voice now too. Her memories danced at the edge of my mind. A burning city. A silver-haired hero. Children sitting in rows with wooden swords. I used all of that as a mold. The transformation completed with a soft shimmer. I looked down at my hands. Human. Pale. Slender fingers. I flexed them. Strange. I walked back to the village, feeling the weight of each step in a body that needed air and balance. It was both familiar and new. Goblins stared. Some gasped. Kavul nearly fainted. Erin wiped her eyes and smiled, sad and sincere. You look like her, she said. I nodded. That was the point. Diablo stood near the center of the village. He had not moved much since the night. He watched me approach with a frozen expression. Our bond hummed with something tangled. His eyes tracked every step. He saw her face, her walk, her hair. His chest hurt. He did not know which of us that pain belonged to. I stopped a few paces away. Is still me, I said. I reached out a hand. He stared at it. Logic said I was Rimuru. The bond said I was Rimuru. His soul knew my presence as well as it knew his own heartbeat. His broken places saw Shizue's face and screamed. He swallowed. Father. His voice trembled. Yes. He stepped forward like someone walking through thick mud. Every part of him wanted to run in a different direction. When he reached my hand, he grabbed it and clung. You feel the same, he said. Good, I answered, trying to keep my own voice steady. Behind us, Shizue's students watched through their grief. It hurt them to see me where their teachers form. It soothed them, too, just a little, to see her features still moving and speaking. This is not a replacement, I told them. It is a promise. I will carry her wishes and her stories. Erin nodded, tears running down her cheeks. Jaido wiped his nose with his sleeve. Kavul muttered that he would never get used to this world. When they left later, they bowed to me and to Diablo. Erin stopped in front of him for a second. Take care of him, she said to Diablo, pointing a thumb at me. He blinked, surprised that anyone would give him that job so casually. I will, he answered. Her smile wobbled. Good. Someone needs to keep an eye on him. They walked away into the forest, small figures moving toward their own paths. The village changed after Shizue's death. The goblins looked at Diablo with a slightly different mix of emotions. Before, he had been a walking disaster. Now, they had seen him kneeling beside a dying woman, holding back his own power because she had asked him to. Fear did not vanish. It rarely does. Respect grew beside it. At night, Diablo sometimes sat where Shizue had told stories and stared at the fire. He would hold a fruit in his hand and peel it exactly the way she had shown him, even when he did not plan to eat it. He never cut himself again. Once he spoke softly into our bond while I pretended to sleep. If you die, he whispered, I will not have anyone left to tell me what is right. I wanted to give him some comforting lie, something like I will never die. But we had just learned how dangerous false hope could be. So I sighed, just loud enough for him to hear. Then our job is to make sure that does not happen for a very long time, I said. He nodded once. I will not let death take you easily, he said. Veldora snorted in the background. He sounds like one of your future enemies. Maybe I thought. Or maybe he is the only reason I will survive them. A few days later, news reached us through passing traders and Ranga scouts. Ogres fleeing from the south. Orc armies moving like a slow tide. Strange masked clowns appearing in ruined villages. The board was shifting again. I stood at the edge of the village one morning, human body visible in the light, watching the treeling. Diablo stood beside me, hands in his pockets. You're thinking about her, he said quietly. I always will, I answered. He nodded. Good. He swept his gaze across the forest. Then let us make sure no one else who matters to you dies that way, he said. His voice was calm. His aura was steady. It was not a promise to erase all death. He had learned that lesson already. It was a vow to stand between me and the worst of it, even if he bled for it. I felt the weight of that vow settle over the village like a new kind of protection. Somewhere far away, in a holy city that smelled of incense and old fear, a high priest read letters about a slime that had devoured a hero and was raising a child of darkness. He frowned, tapped his fingers on the desk, and whispered a single name. Hinata. The future moved toward us, step by step. At my side, Diablo smiled, a small, quiet smile that had something of Shizue's warmth and something of his own sharp edges. He was no longer just a weapon that had imprinted on me. He was a child who had lost someone and decided that love was worth protecting, even if it hurt. The forest feels different after someone dies in it. The trees are the same. The wind is the same. Monsters still crawl in the undergrowth, and magicules drift in lazy currents. But there is an extra quiet around our village now. A small pause in the air, like the world remembers that a person stopped breathing here. A few days pass. We fall into a rough rhythm. Goblin builders wake early and hammer boards together with their new tools. Ranga and his pack run patrols in steady loops. Wolves and goblins train side by side in the clearing, swinging wooden weapons under the watch of nervous old goblins who are still not used to the idea of drills. Diablo sits through most of this with a blank face and sharp eyes. When goblins spar, he watches their feet and their breathing, not their swings. When Ranga coaches his pack, Diablo pays more attention to the way the wolves coordinate and move in lines than to the howls. He is studying. Sometimes he joins in. When he does, everything stops. Goblin warriors scatter to the sides. Wolves lower their tails and pretend to focus on stretching. Even the trees feel like they lean away. He never hurts anyone in training. Not after I told him the rule. But it is hard to convince people of that when his idea of a light tap leaves a crater. Today, he stands in the middle of the clearing with Ranga in front of him. Ranga's fur bristles as he lowers his body into a ready stance. His horn crackles faintly with lightning. You may strike with full speed, the wolf says, voice steady. I will endure. Diablo tilts his head. If I strike at full speed, you will not endure. Behind them, the goblin chief quietly makes a choking sound. Ranga huffs. Then strike at the highest level that still lets me live. Diablo thinks about that. His eyes flick toward me. I shrug. If he insists, Diablo nods once. Very well. He rolls his shoulders, then takes a step forward. No aura flare this time. No heavy pressure. He is practicing restraint. Ranga charges first. His paws slam against the packed earth with sharp thuds. His horn flashes as he closes the distance in a blur. Diablo does not move until the last moment. When Ranga's horn comes in for a strike, Diablo shifts his weight and leans just enough that the sparking tip passes by his shoulder. He raises a hand and taps the side of Ranga's neck with 2 fingers. There is no visible force. No explosion. Ranga's legs simply fold. His body hits the dirt with a heavy thump. Dust jumps around them. For a second, there is absolute silence. Then Ranga groans. I'm alive, he says. Diablo lowers his hand. Targeted nerve disruption with a magic boost. Great sage notes calmly in my head. Ranga's paws twitch. He shakes himself and staggers back up, legs a little unsteady. We should try again, he pants. No, I cut in. I'm not going to scrape you off the ground twice in one morning. The wolves laugh nervously. The goblins clap anyway, because seeing their guardian and their wolf captain spar like this makes them feel safer. Diablo returns to my side without any expression of pride. He watches Ranga limp back into formation and quietly stores the result away for later. This is our new normal. Training, building small lessons. Death did not pause the world. It just left an extra ache in our bones while we moved. By midday, the sun is bright and high. Goblin kids chase each other around the well. A few bold ones run close to Diablo, squeal, and then dash away when his eyes flick toward them. He pretends not to notice, but the link carries his confusion. They are not afraid enough to stay away. He thinks. That is progress, I tell him. He hums quietly. I spend most of the afternoon in human form. Shizue's form. My hair moves in the breeze. Fingers pick up nails and pass them to goblins who are still clumsy with the new tools. I show one how to hold a hammer without smashing his thumb. It is a strange feeling walking around in this body, teaching people how to work and cook while her memories sit in the back of my mind like quiet guests. Every time I lift my hand, I feel Diablo's eyes on it. He does not stare at my face much. That still hurts him. But the way my hand moves, the way I reach for things, the way I pat goblins on the head when they manage something difficult, those gestures are mine. That steadies him. The day seems calm. It is not. Around late afternoon, my magic sense bumps against something big. Several somethings. Strong magic signatures. Moving in a tight group. Headed straight toward us. I stop mid-step and turn toward the south. Ranga, I call. He is already moving before I finish. His pack fans out, noses low. Diablo straightens from where he has been sitting under a tree, eyes narrowing. Danger. He feels it too. The goblin chief notices my pause. He limps over, face worried. Great one. We have visitors, I say. Good ones or bad ones? Diablo asks. I focus. The approaching auras are heavy. Controlled. They carry anger that tastes old and sharp. Could go either way, I say. He steps closer to me. His hand finds the back of my human wrist without really thinking and curls there with light pressure. I let him. Ranga returns after a short while. For ruffled. Master. He lowers his head, ears flat. There are 6 ogres ahead. High class. They are wounded but still strong. Ogres. In the original flow, they came here driven by rage against the orc lord and claimant's tricks. Their village ruined. Their people slain. They came looking for answers and revenge. Here, they're walking into a village that holds not just a slime and some goblins, but also a child who scares spirits and kings. I nod. Bring them in. No attacks unless they strike first. Ranga hesitates. They already think we are the enemy, he says. We will correct them. He huffs in worry, but obeys. The goblins gather behind us, whispering nervously. Some grip their new spears too tight. A few children peek from behind huts. I stand in the center of the clearing, human body straight, hands at my sides. Diablo moves to stand slightly ahead and to my right. His posture is relaxed, but his eyes are not. His aura stays mostly tucked in. Mostly. From the trees, Ranga emerges, walking backward, giving space to the figures that follow. They're big, even by ogre standards. 6 of them, each carrying heavy wounds and heavier anger. The leader stands out at once. A tall male with bright red hair tied back, eyes like burning coals. His body is wrapped in torn armor. A deep cut runs across his chest, half-healed but still raw. Beside him walks a young woman with soft pink hair and gentle eyes that do not match the sword at her hip. Her clothes are stained with soot. Behind them, 4 more ogres move in a rough V. A hulking male with a massive club. A slim one with glasses and an air of focus. A quiet woman with blue hair and a stubborn line to her mouth. A stocky older man who looks like he wants to collapse, but refuses. Their eyes sweep the village once, then lock on us. On me. On Diablo. On Ranga. The leader's aura spikes. Storm wolf, he growls. Demon child. Human in borrowed skin. Good instinct. Veldora notes dryly in my head. The red-haired ogre steps forward. His hand goes to his blade. You are the ones who destroyed our village, he says. His voice shakes with rage. You command the orc army. You hunt us. I sigh inwardly. That is fast. No, I say out loud. He does not care for that answer. Do not lie, he snarls. The pink-haired ogress touches his sleeve. Brother, wait, she murmurs. Her aura carries pain and grief. Her eyes glance at the goblins with a flicker of pity. She sees their fear and doubts her brother for a heartbeat. He shakes her off gently but firmly. Stay back, Shuna. His gaze cuts to Diablo. I can smell the blood on you, he says. The stink of demons and darkness. You're the same as the thing that led the orcs. Diablo's jaw tightens. I'm not orc, he says. His voice is quiet. You are worse, the ogre snaps. Shuna winces. The link between us hums. Diablo's anger sharpens. He does not care that the insult is weak. What cuts him is the assumption that he stood with whoever burned this man's home. I feel his instincts coil. Protect. Crush. I'm already moving when he starts to step forward. My hand catches his wrist. Wait, I say through the bond. He pauses. Barely. They are grieving. He grits his teeth. That is no excuse. You have been angry too? I remind him. The night Shizue died hangs between us. His shoulders twitch. The red-haired ogre sees my hand on Diablo's wrist and misreads it. Controlling him, he says, using a demon as a pet. He draws his sword in one sharp motion. It leaves its sheath with a clean ring. Air stirs. Ranga snarls. The wolves behind him lower themselves, ready to spring. Goblin spears shift. Diablo's eyes go very cold. Master, he says. He does not ask a question this time. He asks for permission. I hold his wrist a little tighter. We do not kill them, I say. His eyes flicker, then sharpen. Understood. He pulls his arm free and steps forward. The leader ogre, RIMURU in the old line of events, charges. The ground shakes under his feet. His blade swings down in a heavy arc aimed at Diablo's head. Diablo does not move out of the way. He raises his hand and catches the blade. Metal meets bare flesh with a harsh clang. Sparks fly. The sword stops. The ogre's eyes widen. He pushes harder. His muscles bulge. Veins stand out on his arms. The blade does not move. Diablo's fingers close around the flat of the sword, grip firm but not strained. He looks up, meeting the ogre's eyes. Your rage is heavy, he says. His voice is very calm. The ogre snarls. You have no right to speak of my rage. He yanks the sword back and swings again, this time faster, cutting for Diablo's side. Diablo shifts his weight and lets the blade pass a breath away from his ribs. He steps in, close enough that the ogre's elbow brushes his coat. Then he drives his knee into the ogre's stomach. The impact is like a drum. Air rushes out of the ogre's lungs in a raw grunt. His body lifts off the ground for a second before he crashes back down. He drops to one knee, sword digging into the dirt for support. Pain cuts through his aura. Pride fights it and forces him up again. He swings in a wide horizontal sweep, a blow that would take a goblin's head clean off. Diablo ducks, the sword passing over him, then twists his body and slams his palm into the ogre's chest, right below the earlier wound. The sound is a dull crack. RIMURU staggers backward, almost drops his sword this time. Shuna gasps. Brother. She rushes forward, but the blue-haired ogress grabs her arm and yanks her back. Wait, she says. Her eyes are narrowed, watching every move. The big ogre with the club roars. You dare harm our lord. He charges in, club raised. The older man follows him, face set. The glasses-wearing ogre mutters something and magic begins to gather in his hands. Diablo rolls his shoulders and steps to meet them. I move at the same time. Goblin warriors stand down, I shout. Wolves, do not join unless they threaten the village. It goes against all their instincts to hold back while their guardian faces 3 strong enemies. But my voice carries authority they have learned not to question. Ranga plants himself at the edge of the clearing, eyes locked on the fight, every muscle quivering. Diablo reaches the big ogre first. The club comes down in a heavy overhead slam that would crush a small house. Diablo slides in under it. The club smashes into the ground with a deep boom, sending dirt and stones flying. Dust hits Diablo's coat. He ignores it. He steps on the club's shaft, pinning it, and drives his elbow into the big ogre's ribs. There's a sharp crack. The ogre coughs, blood spraying from his mouth, and collapses sideways, arm going limp. Diablo pivots to face the older ogre, whose fist glows with magic. The old one strikes fast and precise, aiming for pressure points. His blows are not as strong as the leader's, but they carry weight of experience. Diablo meets him strike for strike. Their fists connect with wet thuds. Air pulses with each exchange. The ogre grunts, sweat flying from his brow. Diablo's breathing barely changes. When the older man overextends, Diablo steps in close and taps his shoulder, then his hip, then his knee in quick succession. Joint disruption. The ogre's leg gives out. His arm hangs limp. He drops to one knee with a grimace, chest heaving. By then, the magic caster has finished his spell. A flurry of fire bullets hiss through the air, streaking toward Diablo's back. Diablo twists, cloak flaring. He raises his hand and flicks his fingers. Black sparks snap into existence, intercepting the fire. Each spark eats a bullet hole with a soft hiss. The wizard's eyes go wide. Impossible. Diablo reaches out and sweeps his hand sideways. A wave of compressed darkness pushes outward. It does not cut. It shoves. The caster lifts off his feet and flies through the air, crashing into a tree trunk with a dull smack. The impact knocks the breath out of him and rattles his bones. All of this happens in less than a minute. The goblins watch with round eyes and open mouths. The ogres see their strongest fighters pinned, broken, or stunned. Only Benimaru is still standing, hand gripping his sword, chest heaving, sweat running down his temple. His eyes burn with a mix of anger and shock. "You're playing with us," he spits. Diablo stands in the middle of the downed ogres, breathing steady. "I am obeying," he says. He tilts his head toward me. They're still alive. I stand there, human heart pounding a little faster in my chest. He's right. If he had aimed to kill, none of them would be breathing. Benimaru's hands shake. He raises his sword again, but Shuna steps in front of him at last, arms spread. "Stop," she cries. Her voice cracks. He freezes. "Move," he says through clenched teeth. "No." Tears gather in her eyes. "Brother, look." She points at the goblins. They are scared. They have children. They have no orc markings, no army. Her voice softens. "These people are weak. The ones who destroyed our village were not." The blue-haired woman nods shortly. "He is right about that," she says, jerking her chin at Diablo. "He is far stronger than the generals who attacked us." She shoots Diablo a wary look. "If he wanted us dead, we would be dead." That simple statement hangs in the air. Diablo watches them, eyes still cold. The bond between us carries leftover anger and the start of something else. He understands rage now. He understands grief. But Shizue's death taught him that not every answer is to end the source. Benimaru sucks in a deep breath and lets it out slowly. His shoulders drop a fraction. He lowers his sword tip until it points at the ground. Then he sinks to one knee. The move shocks his own people almost as much as it shocks the goblins. "Brother." Benimaru bows his head. "I apologize," he says, voice rough. He lifts his gaze to me. "We lost everything. I'll let anger blind me." I feel the truth in his aura. We're not the only ones who buried people this week. I exhale long and slow. I look around the clearing. The big ogre lies on his side, clutching broken ribs. The older man kneels with his leg bent at an odd angle, but holds himself straight. The caster slumps against the tree, dazed. Shuna stands with her arms still half spread, trembling, but refusing to move until she is sure no one will swing again. The blue-haired one keeps her weapon out, but lowered. Diablo stands in the center of this mess, chest rising slightly faster now. Eyes alert, hands still loose at his sides. His aura is tight around him, straining at the edges. Through our bond, I feel something strange moving under his anger. Recognition. He sees himself in Benimaru. Different cause, same heat. I shift my body into slime form without warning. Bones and muscles shrink out of existence. Hair pulls back, clothes fall through my body, and then reappear as simple slime-carried gear. Gasps ripple through the goblins. The ogres blink. Benimaru stares. He breathes. I bounce once on the packed earth, then shift back into human form with another soft shimmer. Shuna's eyes widen. Transformation. The glasses-wearing ogre pushes his cracked lenses up his nose. "A slime's unique skill," he mutters. "Fascinating." The older man gives him a look. "Not now." I chuckle despite the tension. "I am Rimuru," I say. "I am a slime. I am not human. I am not orc. I am not working for whoever destroyed your home." Benimaru listens, chest still heaving. My words alone are not enough. His head is not that simple. So I take another step. "Shizue," I say softly. The name hits him like a light tap to the heart. "Conqueror of Flames," I add. A woman in a white mask. His eyes flicker. "You know her?" he says. "New," I correct gently. He hears the past tense. His mouth tightens. I explain in simple terms. No drama. Just the facts. She came here. She stayed. We shared a meal and some stories. Ifrit lost control. She asked me to end her life with meaning. I pat my own chest. I carry her. Benimaru listens with a heavy face. Shuna presses a hand to her lips. The blue-haired woman shifts her stance, expression softening slightly. "You ate a hero," Benimaru says. He is not accusing, just trying to understand. I nod. He closes his eyes for a brief moment, as if he is remembering someone. "She helped us once," he says quietly. "A long time ago, When we were children, she drove off a monster that attacked travelers on the road. Shuna nods, tears spilling over. I remember. She gave me a sweet after. The little connection threads tied together in the air. They knew her. She left a mark. Now she's gone, and here I stand, wearing her face, holding her voice. You can hate me for that, I say. I understand. Benimaru shakes his head slowly. No. His gaze lifts to Diablo. I should hate him, he says. He looks at the battered bodies of his own people, at the crushed ground, at the club lying broken. Yet he left us alive. He shifts his gaze back to me. That is because of you. He sees the bond. Good, Veldora murmurs. The red one is not an idiot. Benimaru bows his head again. We have nowhere to go, he says simply. Our village is gone. Our people are dead. His voice does not shake on that word, but his aura does. We were chasing a shadow. The masked generals said they served a demon lord. The orc hordes follow them. We sensed a strong presence here and thought you were the same. He clenches his fists. We were wrong. He lowers himself until his forehead touches the dirt. I, the leader of the ogres who remain, humbly ask for your help. The clearing goes quiet again. Goblins stare at the proud warrior kneeling in the dust. Wolves flick their ears. Diablo's eyes are unreadable. He tilts his head, thinking. Through the link, I feel his mood shift from anger to consideration. They lost their home to an army. He lost the closest thing to a gentle teacher to a spirit and age. Loss is loss. He takes a step forward. The ogre's tense. Diablo stops in front of Benimaru and looks down at him. You raise your blade to kill Master, he says. Benimaru does not lift his head. Yes, his voice is calm. He accepts that truth. If Master had not stopped me, you would be dead. Also true. Yes. Diablo's fingers flex. Everyone holds their breath. He reaches down and takes Benimaru's shoulder in one hand. His grip is firm. Not gentle. Not cruel. Benimaru stiffens, but does not pull away. Diablo squeezes. Do not make me choose between his rules and my instincts again, he says quietly. His voice is low, only for the ogre and me. Because one day I will fail. He releases the shoulder and steps back. Benimaru lifts his head at last. He sees the warning in those black and gold eyes. He also sees the effort behind it. He smiles a small, rough thing. Then I will make sure that does not happen, he says. He says it like a warrior accepting a difficult mission. He stands slowly, body protesting. His people straighten as well, leaning on each other for support. I watch them, mind racing ahead. Ogres who lost everything. Goblins who are learning to live. Wolves who now follow me and my son. A future filled with orc armies and demon lords and human churches. I cannot handle all of this alone. I do not want to. I take a breath. I have an idea, I say. Every eye turns to me again. You want revenge against the ones who ruined your home, I say to the ogres. Yes, Benimaru answers. You want a place to protect, I say to the goblins and wolves. They nod. I want a family and a home where I do not have to watch everyone die around me all the time. I admit. Diablo's hand finds my sleeve and holds tight. So I say. I stretch my hand out toward the ogres, as if I have done this 100 times before and not just once with a wolf. What if you join me? They blink. Join you. The glasses-wearing ogre repeats. In what way? I grin. As subordinates. Partners. People who stand with me. I glance around. I took a goblin village and some wolves and started to make something here. I am calling it a federation in my head. A place for monsters who do not want to be stomped by humans or by demon lords. The word is big and stupid and hopeful. Diablo likes it. I can feel his approval in the bond. Benimaru studies my face. You would accept us, he says slowly. The ones who attacked your home in a fit of rage. Yes, I say. If you are willing to put that energy into protecting this place now. Shuna wipes her eyes and looks up with a small, hopeful smile. The blue-haired woman crosses her arms and snorts, but there is no real mockery in it. You talk like a leader, she says. I talk like someone tired of sleeping on cold cave floors. Correct. I get a faint chuckle from Ranga and a few goblins. The tension in the clearing loosens a notch. The older ogre steps forward and bows. I am Hakuro, former instructor of our clan, he says. He looks me in the eye. If you accept us, I will train your people to fight properly. The big ogre, still clutching his ribs, thumps his free hand against his chest. I am Kirob. I will forge weapons and armor. The glasses wearing one adjusts his cracked lenses again. Rigurd, the goblin chief, gives him an odd look at the name Collision, but says nothing yet. My name is not Rigurd, the ogre says with a tired sigh, catching the look. It is Kuro. Right now I do not have much to give except my head, he adds. But I am good with magic and planning. The blue-haired woman gives a curt bow. I am Sui. I will handle scouts and information. Shuna brings her hands together at her chest. I am Shuna, she says softly. I can support your people with skills and prayer. And cooking, she adds in her head, if the smell of past meals and her memories is anything to go by. Benimaru is last. You know who I am, he says. He kneels again, not in rage this time, but in choice. If you will have us, Rimuru, we will follow you. You're not afraid that I'm slime? I ask. We have seen what you can do, he answers. A body does not matter. I grin. Then from this moment, you are mine. I reach out with my magic. Naming is not just about picking something cool. It is about recognition. Connection. I look at the red-haired ogre and feel the heat of his rage and his pride. Benimaru, I say. Magic flows out of my core and into him in a rush. His aura flares as the new name sinks in. His body glows faintly. The cut across his chest begins to knit even before the light fades. I move down the line. Shuna keeps her name. It fits. Sui too. Hakuro. Hiro. Kuro. Magic pours out with each name, washing over their worn bodies, healing wounds, rebuilding muscle, strengthening bones. The goblins watch, wide-eyed. They remember how naming changed Ranga, how it changed them a little when I gave some of them new names. This is stronger, deeper. The ogres glow one by one, then settle. Their auras sharpen and condense. They're no longer just ogres. Kijin. The word comes from great sage, but the feeling is all theirs. I sway a little when the last burst of power leaves me. Magicule reserves low, great sage notes. No kidding. My vision blurs. My legs go weak. Diablo is already there. He steps in close and catches my human body before I fall. One arm around my shoulders, the other at my back. My head lolls against his chest for a second. I hear his heartbeat, fast and worried. His aura wraps around me, dark and protective. Idiot, he mutters, but there is no heat in it. His fear pours through the bond. I push back a pulse of reassurance. I'm fine, I tell him. Just low on fuel. He remembers Shizue's last moments, and his grip tightens. You always say that, he says. This is the first time I have fainted naming a group. I argue weakly. He does not care about that logic. Benimaru watches this exchange, eyebrows raised. So this is your bond, he murmurs. He feels the thread between us now, clearer than before. Shuna steps forward, hands clasped. Her eyes soften at the sight of Diablo holding me. He looks like a protective older brother. She says quietly. He is my son, I correct, voice slurred. Diablo's ears turn a little red. Shuna smiles. Even better. The newly named Kijin bow together. From this day on, Benimaru says, we will stand between you and your enemies. His eyes flick to Diablo. And we will try not to annoy your son. A few goblins laugh nervously. Diablo does not smile, but the link carries a tiny flicker of amusement. You all talk as if I am unreasonable, he says. He is not, I say. He just has a short fuse when it comes to me. That he agrees. The rest of the day is a blur. My body shuts down for a while to recover magic. Diablo carries me into a hut and sits with me in his lap while I sleep, back against the wall, eyes on the door. Ranga stands guard outside, wolves at his sides. The Kijin help the goblins set up a proper defensive ring around the village. Hakuro starts critiquing goblin stances within an hour of waking fully. Hiro rummages through our supplies and starts sketching weapon designs in the dirt with a stick. Sui disappears into the trees without a sound and comes back with reports on orc movements. Shuna cooks. She uses what we have. Herbs, meat from Ranga's hunts, simple grains. The smell of proper food fills the air. By the time I wake again, evening has fallen. I open my eyes to the dim light of a lamp. Diablo sits where I left him, head tilted back against the wall, eyes half closed. He is not asleep. He never really sleeps in the way others do. But he is resting. My head is pillowed on his thigh. His hand rests lightly on my hair. The moment my breathing changes, he looks down. You are awake, he says. I push myself up slowly. My limbs feel heavy but not weak. How long? A few hours. He studies my face. You scare them, he adds. Who? The goblins. The wolves. The new ones. He means the Kijin. I grin weakly. Good. That means they care. He looks unimpressed by this take, but he helps me sit up properly without comment. Outside, voices drift in. Training calls. Kicks thumping against wooden posts. Laughter. The crackle of a fire. We step out together. The scene that greets us is different from the usual chaos. Goblin warriors stand in rows, sweat dripping from their faces as Hakuro walks between them, barking instructions. When someone holds a spear wrong, he whacks their shoulder with a stick and shows them the proper angle. Kirobe has set up a small makeshift forge using stones and a metal pan. He works with goblin assistants, showing them how to heat and hammer small plates. Sui is nowhere visible, but I can feel his presence at the edge of the village. Shadows move where they should not. Shuna stirs a large pot over the main fire. The smell of stew hangs in the air. Goblins pass bowls back and forth. Benimaru stands talking quietly with Ranga near the gate. Their auras brush against each other, testing. There's respect there now and a little competitiveness. They all pause when they see us. A subtle shift goes through the village. Heads dip, backs straighten. Rimuru, Master, Lord, so many titles. Only one of me. I raise a hand. Relax. I'm not about to drop dead. Some goblins laugh, but their eyes still flick to Diablo as if to check his reaction. He keeps his expression neutral, but moves half a step closer to me. Shuna carries a bowl over, steam rising from it. You should eat, she says. I accept it with a smile. Thank you. My stomach, which is technically optional but still present in this form, growls softly. She giggles. See, I take a spoonful. The taste is simple and good. Warmth spreads through my body. Shuna watches my face with hopeful eyes. Diablo watches Shuna. The link carries something tight and odd. He does not dislike her. Her aura is gentle. She stopped her brother from swinging at me again. She is careful around him, but the way she looks at me and the way I answer, with easy smiles and thanks and relaxed shoulders, makes a small knot form in his chest. He does not have a word for it. Shuna notices his stare. She blushes a little and bows her head. Would you like some too, Diablo? She asks. He blinks. He is not used to people other than me offering him things with that warm tone. He hesitates. He looks at me. I nod. Try it. She holds out a second bowl. He takes it, fingers brushing hers for a moment. Her heart jumps at the contact. Not in romance. In nerves. He sits beside me and lifts the spoon with slow care. He tastes the stew. His face does not change much, but the bond carries his reaction. Warm. Savory. Slightly too salty. Good. You can just say you like it, I tell him. He nods once. It is acceptable, he says out loud. Shuna looks like he just declared her the best cook in the world. Thank you, she says, cheeks pink. I bump my shoulder lightly against his arm. You know that was praise, I say. He hums. If I praise too much, they will stop trying as hard, he mutters. Hakuro snorts from the training area. I heard that, he calls out. Diablo flicks him a brief look. Good, he says. Later that night, after food and training and planning, Benimaru gathers us around the fire with a rough map scratched in the dirt. He uses a stick to point at different marks. The Orc Lord moves here, he says. He draws a smear of lines representing the horde. They eat everything in their path. Villages, forests, people. His hand shakes only slightly when he says that. Clayman's influence is clear. The masked clowns, the branded generals, the sudden coordination. I study the map. We cannot fight an army of tens of thousands head-on yet, I say. Benimaru nods. We do not have to. Sui speaks from the edge of the firelight. His voice comes out of a patch of shadow. We can cut supply lines. Rescue smaller groups. Gather allies. Ranga's ears prick up. We can ambush their scouts, he offers. Goblin chiefs nod eagerly. We can build walls. Hiro mutters something about proper equipment. Hakuro talks about training every goblin who can stand upright. Shuna suggests a shrine. Diablo listens without interrupting. He feels the pull of a large fight. The idea of facing an entire horde excites the old part of him. At the same time, Shizue's death and the ogre's losses have changed something in him. He does not just see enemies to crush. He sees numbers of people who will die if we are careless. When Benimaru finishes laying out the broad situation, Diablo finally speaks. "We will fight," he says. He looks at each of the Kijin, then at Ranga, then at the goblins who are sitting close to the fire, listening with wide eyes. "But we do not do it for revenge only," he adds. Benimaru frowns slightly. "Then for what?" Diablo's hand reaches behind him without looking and finds my sleeve. "For him," he says. He says it in a steady tone, as if that explains everything. To him it does. He is not saying we ignore our pain. He is saying that the point of fighting is to build a future where I can sit and eat stew and complain about paperwork without corpses piling up around us. The Kijin hear that and translate it in their own way. "For our Lord," Benimaru agrees, lips twitching in a faint smile. "For our home," Shuna adds. "For a future without pointless death," Sui says quietly. "For a workshop that does not burn down again," Kiro grunts. "For students I can drill until they curse my name," Hakuro laughs. The goblins cheer. Ranga howls once, voice rolling across the dark trees. His pack answers. The night answers too. Far away, under the cover of another forest, a man in a jester mask sits on a broken wall, swinging his legs. He remembers the sensation of a dark aura flaring in the distance. He remembers the way his own instincts told him to stay away. He tips his head back and laughs softly. "There is a new piece on the board," he says. "A slime. A demon child." He taps a finger against his chin. "Lord Clayman will want to hear about this." He vanishes into the dark with a grin. Back at our fire, I stretch out my legs and lean my shoulder into Diablo's arm. He glances down, then rests his hand lightly on top of my head. No dramatic words. No big oaths. Just that simple touch and a shared understanding that the days ahead will be hard. We will fight. We will bleed. People will die. But we will do everything we can to make sure the people who matter to us do not vanish without care. And if the world does not like that, well, it should not have left a slime, a demon child, and a bunch of angry Kijin in the same forest. The air over the village has started to taste like metal. Sui says it is the smell of war. Magicules gather thicker every day, pushed here by something big moving through the forest to the south. Even without magic sense, the goblins can feel it. They work faster. They laugh less. I wake most mornings in human form now, lying on a simple bed that Shuna insisted I use. Diablo is always there when I open my eyes, sitting on the floor beside the bed with his back against the wall, watching the door. He looks like a tired boy who fell asleep sitting up. He is never really asleep. Today is no different. When I stretch, his gaze snaps to me at once. "You did not move all night," he says. "That is what sleeping looks like," I answer. "You should try it sometime." He studies my face like he is checking for cracks. "No," he says calmly. "One of us should stay aware." I sigh, but I do not push. We are both still feeling the ache of Shizue's death, even if we pretend we are fine. Outside, the village is already noisy. Goblins shout as they lift beams. Wolves bark short commands as they run drills. The smell of Shuna's cooking drifts through the air. And under all of that, like a steady drum, is the feeling of approaching orcs. Sui confirms it during the morning meeting. We sit in the largest hut. Benimaru leans over a rough map carved into the table. Hakuro stands with his arms crossed. Hirobe has soot on his face from a forge. Shuna sits with her hands folded neatly in her lap. Sui is a shadow near the wall. Ranga lies beside me, head resting on his paws. Diablo stands behind my chair, silent and still. "Orc forces are moving north," Sui says. His voice is flat. Every report is the same. Villages emptied. Carcasses stripped. No discipline, only hunger. Benimaru grips the edge of the table. His red eyes flare. "The same ones who destroyed our home," he says. Sui nods once. "Yes." Benimaru's aura spikes, hot and sharp. It brushes against Diablo's darkness in the air between them. Both powers react. The wood of the table creaks. Hakuro clicks his tongue. "Do not let anger blind your eyes, boy," he says. "We need clear heads." Benimaru pulls in a breath and lets it out through his nose. The flare calms a little, but does not go away. "We cannot face them alone," he says. "Their numbers are too large. We need allies. That is where the lizard men come in," I say. Ranga lifts his head. They live in the marsh, I remind everyone. They're in the path of the orcs. If we join forces, we stand a chance. If we stay apart, we get eaten one by one. Shuna looks worried. Their chieftain will accept, she says softly. He is not a fool. Benimaru snorts. His son is, he mutters. Gabaru's name does not need to be spoken for everyone to know who he means. I rub the bridge of my nose. Sui, you already went to the marsh. What did the chieftain say again? Sui steps out of the shadow. He is willing to speak, he answers. He respects strength. He will not move based on rumors. He wants to see you with his own eyes. Then we go. I say. Hakuro nods slowly. We also need to sharpen our own people, he says. Goblins are brave, but untrained. Kijin cannot cover every gap. We are working on it, I reply. We really are. Every day is drills, patrols, construction, planning. No one is idle. The only person who is truly still is Diablo, and even that stillness is a kind of focus. He has been quieter since Shizue died. He talks less. He watches more. When goblins fumble with tools, he no longer startles them with sudden corrections. He just stands and memorizes. The Kijin are still wary of him. They respect him after seeing him drop them the clearing, but respect is not trust. Benimaru's eyes narrow whenever Diablo moves too close to me. Hakuro watches his stance the way he watches a dangerous trainee. Sui never turns his back on him completely. Tension has been building for days. It finally snaps during an afternoon training session. We're in the clearing where the goblins used to play. The ground is packed hard now, marked with scuffs from practice. Hakuro barks orders as goblin warriors try to copy Kijin movements. Ranga's pack runs footwork drills along the edge. Benimaru and Diablo stand opposite each other in the center. This was my idea. Hakuro said they needed to learn each other's rhythm. Benimaru agreed far too quickly. Diablo agreed because I asked. Limit your output. I tell Diablo through the bond. He gives the mental equivalent of a nod. Benimaru sets his stance. His sword glows faintly with crimson energy. Heat shimmers around him. I will attack first, he says. Diablo does not answer. He simply watches. Hakuro raises his hand. Begin. Benimaru moves. His first strike is a testing blow, a diagonal cut aimed at Diablo's shoulder. Diablo steps aside, the blade passing close enough to brush his coat. He does not counter. Benimaru follows at once. He chains strikes, each faster and heavier than the last. Steel sings in the air. The ground shakes under his feet. Diablo slips between them with minimal motion. A step back, a lean, a tilt of the head. His coat flutters. His eyes stay half-lidded. To the watching goblins, it looks like magic. To me, watching through our link, it is pure calculation. He is measuring Benimaru's speed, his angles, his habits. Stop playing with me, Benimaru snarls. He summons flame to his blade and swings in a wide arc fire bites at the air. Diablo's eyes sharpen. He raises his hand and draws a thin line of darkness in front of him. The flame hits it and gutters out, devoured by the black. Benimaru's jaw tightens. There is a beat of silence. Sui shifts on his branch. Hakuro's hand twitches toward his own sword. Ranga's fur stands up a little. Benimaru charges again. This time he aims to break the guard. His aura flares hotter, his steps pound louder. His sword drops with intent to crush. Diablo moves. One smooth step forward. His hand slaps the flat of the blade aside. His other fist drives into Benimaru's ribs. The sound is solid. Benimaru staggers back, gasping. Hakuro is about to call a halt when Benimaru roars. Flames burst from his body, wrapping him in a burning aura. Benimaru, Shuna cries. He does not hear her. He swings again, eyes hot with more than training. The sword whistles toward Diablo's neck. Diablo's own aura surges in answer. For a heartbeat, I feel the primitive joy in him, the thrill that comes when a worthy prey bares its teeth. Darkness rushes up around his feet, eager and hungry. Shadows stretch toward Benimaru like grasping hands. If this lands, bones will break. Maybe more. Everything tightens at once. Diablo, I say. I do not shout. I do not even stand. I simply speak his name with command instead of warmth. He freezes mid-motion. The sword stops an arm's length from his throat. The darkness around his feet shudders and pulls back as if slammed into a wall. For a second, his expression is empty. His instincts howl on the bond, furious at being stopped. Then he turns his head to look at me. Stop, I say. Now. Silence falls over the clearing. Diablo's eyes flicker. Black and gold swirl. Understood, he says softly. He lowers his hand. His aura draws in tight, as if nothing had happened. RIMURU stands with his sword still raised, chest heaving, eyes wide. He looks from Diablo to me, then down at his own hands. Shame cuts through his anger. This was training, he mutters. I know, I say. Hakuro steps between them at last. That is enough for today, he says sharply. You two will not face each other again until you learn the difference between practice and a duel. RIMURU bows his head. My fault, he says. No, Diablo says quietly. I wanted to answer. His fingers flex once. As if he misses the feeling of motion, he stopped halfway. The goblin stands stiff, not sure what to do. Ranga's pack crouches, ears low. Shuna bites her lip. Sui simply watches. The air is so tense it hurts. I stand up and walk over. My legs still feel a bit heavy from the naming, but I keep my posture relaxed. I step between them and put a hand on each of their shoulders. We are allies, I say. From now on, you do not swing at each other like that without my direct order. I do not care how angry you are. That is a rule. RIMURU nods at once. Understood, he says. Diablo looks straight at me. If someone threatens you, he says slowly, do I still have to wait for your order? His voice is soft, but the question is not. I hold his gaze. No, I answer. If someone truly tries to kill me, you do whatever you must. The Kijin flinch at the way I say it. But we're not talking about that now. I add. We are talking about friends. You do not kill or maim my friends. He thinks about that for a moment. Finally he nods. I will follow, he says. It is not a promise never to snap. It is a promise to try. The Kijin hear it. They still do not relax completely, but the heat drops a little. Training continues. More careful now. By sunset, the immediate tension has faded into tired muscles and bruises. Goblins limp to the cook fires. Ranga collapses with a sigh. RIMURU and Diablo keep a deliberate distance from each other. That is when the merchant arrives. He comes with a small cart pulled by two beasts. He looks like any other traveling trader, clothes dusty, smile easy, eyes too sharp. His aura is faint, just enough to show he can use some minor magic. He brings cloth, salt, simple tools, and a small barrel of cheap wine. Rigard greets him at the gate. Welcome, the goblin chief says. Lord RIMURU permits trade. The merchant bows. Your lord is broad-minded, he says. News of this place is already spreading. His gaze sweeps the village. Goblins, wolves, Kijin, the smell of stew, the sound of hammers. Then his eyes land on Diablo. Diablo stands on the edge of the clearing, hands in his pockets, watching everything like a quiet shadow. For a heartbeat, the merchant's mask slips. His pupils narrow. A faint wave of fear leaks from his aura before he smothers it. He knows what he is looking at. He recovers quickly, smiles again, and bows deeper. A prosperous settlement indeed, he says. I will be honored to return with more goods next time. He stays only long enough to trade, then leaves as the sun dips low. I do not think much of him, just another face passing through. Later, I will learn that he is not just a merchant. He is a Majin working for a bored noble, and he will sell the memory of Diablo's eyes to the first person who pays well. Later, I will care a lot. Right now, I have a different problem. The orc army is moving. Sui returns that night with fresh reports. They're devouring everything in their path, he says quietly. The marshlands will fall within a few days if nothing changes. RIMURU sets his jaw. Then we move now. We spend hours going over plans. Who goes to the lizard men? Who stays to guard the village? How to use the terrain? I look at Diablo more than once during that talk. His presence is like a heavy stone in the room. If he comes, we have a walking disaster on our side. If he stays, our home is safer. Shizue's words echo in my mind. Be a good boy. For him, she meant more than just not killing. She meant restraint from both of us. My instinct says to keep him close. If something goes wrong, I want him at my back. My brain says the opposite. A primordial child in the middle of a chaotic battle where orcs, Kijin, goblins, and lizard men all mix that is asking for an accident. I rub my face. Ranga, I say at last. Yes, master, he answers at once. You come with me. His tail wags once. Benimaru, Sui, Hakuro, Cheyenne, Shuna. You too. They nod. This matches their own thoughts. I turn to Diablo. He watches me with calm eyes. I want you to stay, I say. The room goes still. Diablo does not speak for a moment. Stay, he repeats very quietly. To guard the village, I add. Someone strong has to be here. Goblins and Kijin will all be marching. We will take most of the wolves. There will be children and the old left behind. If something hits us from the back while we are busy in the marsh, we need you here. I keep my tone level, but he can hear the other meaning under it. I do not want you in that mess. I do not want you to lose control. I do not want to watch you slaughter allies because someone swung too close to me. He hears all of that through the corridor, even if I do not say it aloud. His fingers curl slightly. You do not trust me, he says. My chest tightens. I trust you, I say at once. I do not trust the battlefield. He looks away, jaw clenched. For a second, I think he will argue. He could. He is not a slave. He is my son and my equal in some ugly ways. Then his shoulders drop just a little. Guarding home is a task, he says softly. Yes, I say. The most important one. He nods once. I will do it. Relief and guilt mix in my stomach. The next day, we march. The village gathers at the gate. Goblins line up with new spears and mismatched armor. Wolves stand ready for bristling. The Kijin stand tall, weapons on their backs. I walk at the front in human form. Shizue's face, simple clothes, sword at my side. Ranga follows close. Benimaru's hair catches the light. Shuna clings to her staff. Sui is already a shadow. Hakuro adjusts his grip on his blade. Diablo stands by the gatepost, arms folded. His aura is wrapped in tight, but everyone feels the pull. I stop in front of him. Last chance to change my mind, I say lightly. His eyes meet mine. Do not die, he answers. I grin. Same to you. He does not smile back, but his hand lifts and rests on my shoulder for a moment. It is a small touch, but the bond carries all the things he does not say. I will be here, if you call, I will come, if you fail to call, I will still come. We turn and leave. The march to the marshlands is long and wet. The ground turns soft, then soft turns to pools. Mist hangs low. Lizard men scouts watch from the reeds.